Yeah, welcome in to the Friday edition of Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. Hope everybody's doing well. A start to the weekend today. Maybe an early weekend for some people. Who knows? Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Probably a little bit better rested than you two, huh? Yeah.
Probably a little bit.
Keyser's a little cranky today. You can tell.
You can tell.
Look at
How
him.
am I cranky?
How am I cranky?
How am I cranky? I don't know, Nick. How are you? What's going on?
I'm doing
there?
great. I just need
I'm
some
having
coffee.
a great day. That's my guy, Jeff Rudnick. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've shout out my guy, Jeff Rudnick from Lance State Journal. I'm having a great day. That's Nick Keyser today.
Nick, you have no thoughts on how you're doing?
I said I'm doing great.
Oh, okay. See, he is cranky.
I'm just
Yeah. See
I
the
just
attitude
need
on
some
that one?
coffee.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You don't have any coffee?
Not yet, Joe.
Why?
There's a lot of sass coming from the other end of that microphone.
Yeah,
in
I
there.
mean,
there's
there's a
whole
lot of
it.
coffee here. We have coffee. Get some.
My goodness.
Jeez.
Joe, some people
Biting my head off.
have James Bond. We have Tanner Bond today.
Tanner Bond. Tanner Bond. Nice.
How many times have people made that joke throughout your life? Probably a spare few. Yeah, that's what I thought. Tanner Bond. Seeing what the world of sports is like with us today. I'm sure there's no a brighter shining light of example of the world of sports than me and you.
Exactly.
Right here.
Exactly. So job shadowing.
Me and you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to know what sports is, it's pretty much us.
This hour does not count.
The height of the sports.
Yeah, 6 o'clock hour doesn't
that's
count
right.
for nothing.
Yeah,
That's right.
Exactly.
I got a lot to get into on the program here today. Jared Stillman will join us at 8 o'clock. He was doing some Sirius XM last night, Joe. So I guess 7 o'clock was too early for Stillman. So 8 o'clock will be his time today. So looking forward to that coming up at 8 o'clock. I'm sure we'll get into a lot of different things. He texted me last night, Joe, at like 11:45. We were having this conversation. It says, hey, have you seen the Titans Christmas card? And then he sends me a picture of the Titans Christmas card, which is this weird like animated Christmas thing. And it's got, an animated Amy Adams Strunk, an animated Santa Claus and his elves seeing like the plans for the Titans' new stadium on the front of it. And it's got an animated Mike Vrabel up there. And he's like, you see who's not on the card? And I was like, yep.
Oh, good God.
Brand Carthon
Okay.
is not on there.
Yeah. This is
That was at 11:45 last night.
brilliant. Inspector Clouseau's on the case then. I wonder, how does that compare to the, what is it again? The Greatest Titan or the Special Titan?
Oh, yeah.
Stretch. John Stryker.
The honorary Titan or
The
whatever
honorary
it was.
Titan.
Yeah.
They're trying to get us ready for
Yeah.
him as GM.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that one. That was a doozy of a take, too. There's a long list of things.
We really need a running database.
We really do.
Of Jared's takes.
We really do. So we'll get into that with Stillman coming up a little bit later in the program. As always, we encourage your thoughts, your texts, your calls. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Tough one for the Preds last night. They get hammered at home, 6-3 by Calgary. And quite frankly, a game where they looked dreadful. They were terrible in the game last night. And it was a combination of things. Number one, I thought UC Saros was bad. He did not have his best stuff coming off a shutout performance against Chicago. There's a couple that just trickled through that you normally see him stop. And the first period in particular was pretty rough from him. I did think he settled down a little bit in the second and made some big saves there, but he gets pulled after the second period. It's the fifth time this year he's been pulled, which you don't see that happen a whole lot. So it's fifth time. I think they've all been at home too, which has also been strange. But fifth time this year that he's been pulled, and the defense in front of him last night was just atrocious. And I thought in particular there were a couple plays from Yossi and certainly a couple plays from Fabro that were just brutal last night defensively. And you got a game that at the time you were 6 points up on the Flames heading in there, and they were kind of nipping at your heels a little bit. You think it's a huge game, and Predators did not respond well last night.
Yeah, so it does seem to me, I know sometimes this is deceiving, but it seems to me like he's had a lot more meltdown starts than we're used to seeing. I will cite Nick's cohort at Nashville Hockey Now, Michael Gallagher, had a good stat here that I want to go through. So he has number of games in which Saros allowed 4 or more by year. So 7 in 20, 19 in 21, 16 and 22. He's at 10 already this year, and this year he's in 32%. Whereas in those other years he's in the 20s. So it's not like massive. It seems bigger than that actually to me.
Yeah.
So first of all, big picture hockey question for you. Like, has anyone ever in the history of the NHL said, "Yeah, the goalie sucked tonight"?
No.
No one's ever said that, right?
No.
I mean, and there are some incredibly bad goalies that it's clearly on them over the years, but like no one's ever said that, right?
Not often. Like when somebody says, it would be nice to get a save occasionally, and then I like stop. I'm like, whoa, look at there.
Who
But
said
no,
that?
No, I can't. I couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
I just think it's probably like Tortorella's probably.
Like I was
going
to
to
say, Torts would be like right the guy who might do it.
But to answer your question, no, it's never the goalie's fault.
So it's always in things like this. It's like, I mean, how many of ththose goals were straight up soft goals from Saros?
At least a couple of them.
3.
You got
going
3?
three?
You got 3?
I would say
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Joe, that's also this is another one. You mentioned Michael. I noticed this. It's the 13th time since October of 2022 that Saros has allowed 5 or more goals in a game. And I'm not sure. I want to do more of a comp.
That's right. That was your tweet, wasn't it?
I want to see what's more around the league with that, maybe since then, but I don't think that's encouraging.
Well, it certainly derails. I mean, you got a shutout performance. And look, I know it was Chicago the other night, and they're just atrocious. Connor Bedard, notwithstanding, they're awful. So it was a good performance by him the other night. I thought he looked sharp. I thought he was good. He didn't get tested a whole lot, but I thought he was good. Last night, I mean, it was just right out of the gate. You have one on the power play that kind of just sneaks through you that you should probably stop. And then 27 seconds later, I mean, Coleman throws a wrist shot from the left circle. And it's a good shot, but it hits Saros in the glove, and it just trickles in off the glove. And you don't see that happen very often when he's letting in goals like that. Now, beyond that, I do like two things can be true. He was not good. And I don't know what they were doing out there defensively last night, but it was bad. I mean, it was really bad. And Andrew Brunette, after the game, was not happy. He was not happy with his team's performance. And he talked about the importance of the game last night and kind of the checklist of things that he had addressed with the team before the game. And he did not mince words last night about his team. Here's what Andrew Brunette had to say after the game.
What's the message in the room after that first period?
Well, I think the message was probably extremely frustrated. I think we talked about it. We knew the importance of this game. We discussed how home ice means something, how we want to establish our game, how we want to dictate, how we wanted to win battles, how we wanted to outcompete them, and we did none of them.
So that was Brunette after the game, and he was you could tell, I mean, he was frustrated walking in the room last night. And it's been interesting because, I mean, if you look back to basically mid-November, Joe, I mean, they've done a whole lot of winning. There's a lot of points that they've collected. They had the 5-10 start, and they've gotten themselves into a wild card spot here. Now, that wild card spot is quickly becoming a little precarious with Edmonton behind them, and you got Arizona behind them, and St. Louis, and a lot of teams that are going to end up being right there. Seattle's playing a lot better. So a lot of teams that are going to be in there, and it already kind of feels like there's basically one spot, maybe two, that's going to be available. Like Edmonton is playing so well right now, they're going to get in. They're too good to not be in. So there's been a little bit of a kind of behind-the-scenes heightened sense of urgency that you could feel from Andrew Brunette for a couple of weeks now, and he's not always been thrilled with the way that they've played, even though they've won some of these games. And I felt like some frustration from some of that kind of boiled over with Andrew Brunette last night in the post-game press conference.
Yeah. And hey, good for him. You call it out sometimes. You're going to have some stinkers, right? So I know he's talked about wanting to play better at home. And so that's a game that you want to win. You got some tough ones coming up. You got a tough road trip coming up, all that stuff. But you're going to have some clunkers. Let me go back on Saros. Money puck last year. Goal GSAE, okay, one of my favorite advanced stats. Goal save above expected. Mm-hmm. Last year in 64 games, 46.7, number one in the league. I think that this stat, I mean, you look at who's at the top of it, I mean, it's the top guys in the league and the goal saved above expected. So, again, he saved almost 47 goals more than he should have last year, right?
Yep.
This year, he is 39th in the NFL. 39th in the NHL with that stat at 1.9.
Yeah.
No, I apologize. Wait, is he lower than that? You know who I just read at 39?
Who's that?
Askarov. This is real. You got excellent stats, dude. But wait a minute, where the heck is Saros? Okay, I apologize. That's actually way worse than I thought. Saros is 75th in the league. He is minus 6.3.
Yeah.
So in 31 games, so basically in half, if he was performing per this stat, per this analysis, if he was performing the same as last year on the same pace, he would be at like 23 goals above expected saved. He's minus 6. I don't think you can just shrug that off.
I don't think you could shrug it off either. Now, I will say, I do think that they've had the puck a little bit more this year, so maybe he's not getting peppered as much.
He got more gimmies because he was getting
now,
seeing more stuff.
I think the flip side of that is also, and Andrew Burnett talked about this yesterday, and I can't remember if it was with us or if he did it in his pregame press conference yesterday, but it was about the system, right? And how I think it was with us when you're trying to be a little bit more offensive and push the pace. At times, that's going to leave you vulnerable back there.
Sure.
And it was kind of tough on the goalie. So I do think, especially early, there was kind of getting used to that. And, we saw the struggles. And, at one point, he had like a 890 save percentage or whatever it was. But I feel like we should probably be past that by now.
But and the thing is about a stat like this, whether you believe it does or not, it's supposed to account for that.
Yes.
It's supposed to equalize things so that you're actually – even if whatever you're facing as a goalie, this is just you should save this, you shouldn't save this, right? So, by the way, good job of Skarov being at 1.9 in 2 games. That's pretty good. That's a heck of a start. You're on a pace to have 82 above and blow everybody away in the league.
Well, that's going to be what he is.
Let's start a controversy.
The trading Saros to Skarov conversation can come back up.
Yes.
I know which one I would pick there if that's what he would be. Rough one for the Preds last night. We'll take your thoughts on that. Are you worried about UC Saros? What do you make of what we saw from the Preds last night against Calgary? We'll take your thoughts on all that. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode. 1025-1063, the game. feel like this game can be a wake-up call for your group, or do you feel like they should have already been there?
Should have already been there. I don't know if this is a wake-up call. I think we've had many of these discussions.
So that was Andrew Burnett after the game last night. You know, he went through the laundry list, Joe, in his post-game press conference about, you know, what a big game this was and basically how disappointed he was in his team's response. And I was like, all right, so is this a wake-up call, or do you feel like this should have already happened at this point? It sure already happened. Like, we've had several discussions about this. Like, he was very frustrated after the game last night, which is I do think is interesting because, like I said, they have been doing a lot of winning lately. But Andrew Burnett seemed especially mad after the game last night.
I don't know why I'm taking this to, like, big picture, just like hockey truths, but like in every single team, the greatest teams of all time in 82 games, like how many times do they just have total turds and then the coach is mad at them?
Oh, it happens
Yeah.
quite frequently.
No, I'm not saying the Preds are on their way to the cup, okay? But it doesn't seem like it's a chronic issue. They had the most points in the league basically over the past 6 weeks going into last night's game.
Correct. Now, I do think, I mean, if you think about the Dallas game, the Detroit game, I felt like they let a point get away from him. Like, I think his point is, like, they, even earlier in the season when they were 5-10, they had a lot of games where they just handed points away. And I think that's what's driving him nuts, is just like the little details. Like last night, it's 4-2, and you get through the second period, and Saros is making he actually made some pretty good saves in the second period, and you had a chance to kind of hang in there and make a push for it in the third, and then you give up just a backbreaker with less than 2 seconds left in the second period, and it feels like they've done that too often this year, where it's like either not recognizing or not being able to execute in critical moments of the game. Like, you got to be able, like Cole Smith, they were out there in the offensive zone for a long time, so he was exhausted. But, you know, Calgary's coming back the other way on the attack, and you got McDonough and Yossi back, and they're both just kind of loafing because they've been out there forever. And Cole Smith just can't get there on the back check. And I know he was tired. Like, they had been out there for a while. So I don't know that, you know, it's not like some gigantic, egregious lack of effort thing from Cole Smith. But, I mean, go back and look at the replay. It doesn't look great when the guy who scores the goal eventually and Cole Smith is right behind him on the whole play, just like about to die, hanging back there. So it's like just recognizing the moment, just like push through it for 2 more seconds, and you get out of that period, and it's 4-2.
Yeah, and like you said, situationally, these killer goals, you know, the end of periods, but also like the giving up a quick second goal after a goal.
Exactly.
And again, this is one of those things like, am I just imagining that that's a bigger issue with this team, or is it actually? But I mean, it's happened. Too often.
I mean, they had 2 and 27 seconds last night for Calgary to take the 2-0 lead. And again, one of those is, I mean, Saros has got to have it. I mean, it's from the left circle. It goes off his glove. It kind of looked like he was fighting the puck a little bit and ends up in his net. I mean, a couple weird goals last night. That one happened. Michael McCarron in the third period had a dump in from the neutral zone that bounced in off Calgary's goalie. So, I mean, a couple weird goals last night, but it felt like a game where there was a huge opportunity to push a team that's behind you, not out of it, but certainly to the point where, I mean, if you're 8 points up on them, you're feeling pretty good about where you're at in that race. And now they're 4 points back. And like I said, I mean, this is going to be a race down the stretch here. You've got Edmonton that's right behind you, Arizona. You know, obviously teams like Seattle. I think Seattle's won 5 in a row, somewhere like that. So they're rolling a little bit better right now. So, I mean, you're allowing teams to kind of hang around with performances like last night.
Yeah. Meanwhile, ESPN starts some hockey coverage and up Broadway, Bedard. Let's talk about the Blackhawks, baby. Oh yeah,
things are going well for them.
Yeah, it's look, if you go back to October, September, and it's like you're in a playoff spot in early January and you're going to be in a fight, to me that's great.
Agreed.
So you got to embrace that, but it is interesting, Andrew Burnett. I mean, pretty obvious in the way he was talking last night. That was some. It seems to me some of the most frustrated he has been. I would agree. Vocally after a game this year.
I would agree. And look, now you've got Dallas coming up on the road, and obviously that's a challenging game. And look, it's not like Dallas is some unbeatable team here, but you got Dallas on the road Saturday, and you got them on the road again next Friday. Like, these are two huge games with the Stars coming up. And look,
you owe them one.
You owe them one for sure. And look, I don't know that the Predators realistically are going to catch the Stars in the standings, because look, the Stars were my pick to win the Stanley Cup before the year, so I think they're a really good team. But I'm just saying, you got some games on the road here that are really challenging coming up. I mean, you got Anaheim at home next week, Dallas on the road again, Islanders at home, and after that, you go on a Western road swing where you got Vegas, who's really good, L.A., who's really good, Arizona, who's in the wild card spot right behind you right now. You got Edmonton on the road later this month. You got Minnesota on the road later this month. Like, Brunette's been kind of looking forward to this for the last few weeks here, and he's like, got to start taking advantage of these games at home, because you got a lot of tough ones on the roads coming up.
Yeah, you got to sock some points away. You had to, you can't go pointless in a game like this last night and be really not in it.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing, because it did feel like, I'm not going to say the effort wasn't there, because rarely do I think that's the case.
They quit, Robby. They quit.
Right. But it was like they just were so out of whack last night, and they were making stupid mistakes and making bad decisions either with the puck or away from the puck, and it just felt like the focus wasn't where it needed to be. And everybody's going to say, well, it's a young team. And I keep trying to tell everybody, like, it's really not. Like, it's not a young team. They have a few young guys, but it's not a young team. O'Reilly, Yossi, Forsberg, McDonough, Nyquist. I mean, they're actually, when you look at the average age, they're not the oldest, but they're on the older side of things in the league. So I think we get a little too caught up sometimes, and it's a bunch of young guys out there. It's like, we got a few young guys out there, but it's not a bunch of young guys out there.
Yeah, I mean, Trotz has made it so that the young guys have a whole bunch of veterans to lead them and not have to be in all the key situations against veterans in this league, right? Which is, I get it. So if that's the case, and we all agree, right, like Ryan O'Reilly and Ryan McDonough and these guys are all great leaders, vocal, by example, all that stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think that's any kind of excuse.
Well, and a problem that has emerged that even when they've been doing some winning lately, it's still been a problem. Like, Novak is totally dried up offensively. Evangelista's been hit or miss. Colton Sissons is playing well. He's contributing offensively. But the point is, like, they're not getting enough consistent offense from anybody right now outside of that top line.
Yeah.
And the top line's been great, and I have no reason to believe the top line is just going to, like, fall apart here, because O'Reilly, Nyquist, Forsberg, they're continuing to play well. But at some point, you got to get some, not just every now and then threats. You got to get some consistent threats from somebody else, and they don't have it right now.
And I think the most likely guy is Novak. I mean, he was still on a very good pace,
point per game,
right? And now, so why do you think that's dried up?
I don't know. It's been interesting. Number one, like they've been kind of mixing and matching that line because nothing's been working. But he had a couple of looks last night. He had a 2-on-1, and I had somebody tweet me last night. He was like, "Well, I saw Novak on a 2-on-1, and I felt good about it. Then I remembered mid-rush that you were picking him in Brett's pick to click."
Oh God, that's right. You picked him yesterday. Why am I even asking this question?
Look, dude, the first two shots he had last night, I think he only ended up with like maybe 3 or 4 attempts. First one was on a 2-on-1 last night, and he put a backhand shot, and it probably missed the net by about 8 feet. And then the second one, he had a look right in the slot, and there's a guy on him, so it wasn't like he was wide open, but he shot it, and he didn't get all of it, and it probably missed the net by like 6 feet. I was like, man, I think this is real. Like, I think I'm the curse.
Yeah, like you just have to. You
got to start eating.
You just have to pick Luke Shin every game.
Sorry, Luke.
He won't be mad at you.
No, he won't.
He'll be fine.
Lozon,
yeah,
Shin. I mean, I can't even pick McCarron because he's scoring right now.
Oh, no. You have to leave all the forwards alone. This team needs secondary scoring. You got to leave them alone.
Tough one for the Preds last night. We'll see if they can rebound tomorrow coming up on the road against the Dallas Stars. Like you said, Joe, they owe the Stars one, so we'll see what happens on that front.
Okay, hot take alert.
Okay.
So we were talking about Gallagher had a tweet about, Saros struggling. Yeah. Teresa Walker quote tweets him because someone just put this on the text line. I missed this. Trevor put this on the text line. Teresa says, makes me wonder if the recent look at a scarf was more than a quick call-up / fill-in. That's a hot take. That's a hot take.
Hey, Kevin, we need you to act like you're sick.
Yeah, seriously.
We're going to bring a Skarov up. Don't tell Yussi. Don't tell Yussi. We're going to bring a Skarov up. Get a look at him.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin. Like this. Yeah, try that. Yeah, work on that a little bit. Dude.
I do feel bad for
Teresa.
Kevin because he told me, I said, Kevin, did you have a good Christmas? And he said, no. I was like, I know you were sick. So did you not get to open like anything cool? And he's like, I was in bed the whole time. And I was like,
playing-
oh,
Kevin,
I'm sorry, man.
I know you're on death's doorstep out there.
Carrying out the ruse. I was really sick, man. Teresa, this 6 o'clock hour is becoming us taking shots at the veterans.
Yeah.
We got Glennon. Now we got Teresa with his hot take. Kevin, were you really sick this Christmas? My Glennon sucks. Glennon is dried up. Sorry.
Mike, can you tell us, could Trey Avery play goaltender?
Does
for
he
the
have
Nashville
the
Predators?
potential to play goaltender?
We'll get into the Titans coming up next. I have a very simple question. Is there anything happening in this Titans game on Sunday beyond the potential of Derrick Henry's last game and or the offseason fiasco that we've talked about all week that Titans fans care about at all on Sunday? We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by Chuck McDowell and Medical House Calls, Middle Tennessee's best medical care in the comfort and safety of your own home. For more information, go to medicalhousecalls.com. Medical House Calls, where the nearest clinic is your home. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning, broadcasting from the Spring Hill Heating and Cooling Game Nashville studios, keeping your home feeling comfortable all year round. Visit springhillac.com. So, Joe, we've talked a lot this week about Vrabel. We've talked a lot about the off-season checklist of things that the Titans had to do coming up. And we've talked about Derrick Henry and the potential for this being his last game in a Titan uniform coming up on Sunday. Is there anything else that strikes the fancy of Titans fans that they're interested in heading into this week? Because I'm struggling to think of a few things. I think it's like Derrick Henry, and for reasons to show up to the game, I guess if you're sentimental about the tailgating and the parking lot. Those are the two I came up with.
Yeah, that's right, the tailgating. Well, I think the quarterback position, one way or the other, I guess anytime Levis plays, that's he's the most important guy in the organization.
Which, by the way, he did some things on the field yesterday.
Yeah, but if not, then it's. I mean, what about the undercard of farewell and thanks for the memories of Ryan Tannehill? Anything there?
I mean, I think there should be. I like it does feel like Titans fans kind of moved on from it.
Yeah, I mean, once he lost
Levis,
exactly
right?
Once he lost the job, but still, I mean, the Tannehill and Henry together, pretty good stuff, man.
For sure. Well, I mean, it's the second most successful era of Titans history, right? Since they made the switch to being the Titans. It's the McNair, Eddie George, all that stuff. And then it was Tannehill, Henry. Like, that was the next era here with the Titans. So I agree. It just feels like Tannehill, even though I think there's a strong possibility he plays, it doesn't feel like from the Titans fan base that there's much play on that this week.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, I guess in a lot of scenarios over the years, it's like when you start talking about them or whatever, Derrick Henry kind of overshadows them. I think at times it's been unfairly so, but I get it this time because – Henry didn't lose his job. Henry could come back. Henry has been, I mean, Henry's, as we've talked about, one of the most popular Titans of all time. Ryan Tannehill won't be that. But Ryan Tannehill does deserve more respect. I would say any other, I guess there's always like, Traylon Burks, can you make some plays and go into the offseason with some momentum? Harold Landry's on a heater.
He is.
Harold Landry get a couple sacks and end up with really it is a fantastic season. He gets credit for a fantastic season, which again, you tell me that going into the year, and I'm like, oh wow, I really like this team's chances then, So, other than that, Trey Avery, Mike, can I interject here? Trey Avery, poor Trey Avery.
I know.
John Glenn, it's your fault.
It is his fault, but sometimes it's about timing in life. It was interesting timing the other day.
Pardon me. Can I interrupt here, Mike?
Well, look, even like Danico Autry, right? I mean, it could be his last game as a Titan on Sunday. Now, I think if the Titans are taking a long, hard look at it, maybe it probably shouldn't be. I'm not saying you break the bank for a 33-year-old, but he's been outstanding basically from the moment he walked in your building. So, when you go through, like if you crunch the numbers and you just go through his production since he's been here, he's on the short list of like best free agent signings in the history of the franchise, right? Like he's been outstanding with what he's done in 3 seasons.
No doubt. I mean, fantastic signing. I really thought we might see a little bit of regression this year. He's something else, man. That guy doesn't talk to anybody. He just puts his head down and just goes out and just blows people up every week. I mean, he's something else. So, yeah, that'll be interesting with him, too, just the offseason. And at his age, like it or not, I don't know what the market's going to be, but he knows he fits in this defense. And I would think the Titans would be very interested if it can work out to bring him back.
Jared from Spring Hill says, Harold Landry has some garbage time stats. He's undersized and probably another bad contract for what he produces. This is from Jared from Spring Hill.
Yeah, it's pretty bad analysis, Jared. I mean, I know it's 6
That's
a.m.
a familiar
hour, so.
phrase that's uttered out of your mouth. That's a pretty bad analysis.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, sure, okay, some garbage time stats. I mean, to me, the biggest win they've had in a long time around here. He was central. Was that garbage time when he was doing what he was doing in Miami?
I don't think so.
I don't think that was garbage time. I guess unless he's saying like the whole season at this point is garbage time. I mean, okay, but they're trying, man. They are trying to win every week. They're playing teams that are trying to win every week. That to me is not garbage time. Undersized. I mean, Harold Landry is a heck of a football player. He sets the edge, plays the run, he can drop, he rushes the passer. He is an all-around excellent football player. That is not a bad contract.
No, he's healthy now, and look, I think everybody would agree it was a slow start to the season for him, and there were times where it's like, man, Landry's not doing a whole lot out there.
Right,
but there's a reason for it, right? And, he's coming
Yes.
off the ACL injury, and basically from the halfway point on, he's looked like vintage Harold Landry, and I think it's good news for the Titans heading into next season. Ken in Waverly says, how do you think Titans fans would react if they drafted 2 offensive linemen with their first and second pick? Maybe even their first, second, and third pick.
And how about the whole thing?
The whole thing?
How about the whole draft a starting offensive lineman plus backups?
I'm not going to say that they won't do that. There's a scenario where they could draft offensive linemen with their first-round pick and their second-round pick. With their first 3 picks in the draft, I'm going to say that they probably won't happen.
Yeah, probably not. Look, I'm a believer in the big board. So the big board, if the big board says, hey, the best guy available is this guard, when you're picking in the 4th round, then okay. But I also am a believer in you have to discuss need and understand need and weave the two together. So that would be surprising.
But the thing for everybody to remember to continue more draft talk in January the 5th.
It's Ken's fault. Your fault, Ken.
Thing that everybody needs to remember about this year's draft is that at the moment they do not possess a 3rd-round pick based on the moving around that they did last year. They got a 1st-rounder. They got a 2nd-rounder. They do not have a 3rd-rounder.
Yeah.
So it'd be a good year to have a 3rd-round pick.
It would be a good year to have multiple picks in every round.
Yes, it would. They do have 2 7th-rounders, in case you were wondering. So a couple opportunities there, Joe.
So Jared, I just want to read Jared from Spring Hill. He didn't really start doing much against solid opponents. We know the Miami Mirage is a fluke. He's 6'2" and 240. So are we talking about Harold Landry's draft status now? The guy's been in the NFL for several years. All of a sudden he's undersized. What are we doing here? I'm sorry to get after you, Jared, to this extent, but what are we doing? What are we talking
Who's
about?
more undersized, Harold Landry or Aaron Brewer?
That Derrick Henry, 6'3", 250, that's a little big for a running back. I don't know about this guy. I don't know.
It's we've seen Harold Landry play and be productive in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't think all of his stats come in garbage time. I'm sure there have been a few sacks he's had this year,
Right.
which have probably been in garbage time.
I mean, the Miami Mirage is a fluke. Well, it is a fluke when it comes to this team. It's a bad team, 5-11, so that's one of those wins. It's hard to explain, but he made great plays against a team trying to win that's going to be in the playoffs.
Any excitement for the opportunity to keep Duval out of the playoffs on Sunday?
That's a good point.
I feel like Titans fans should be fired up about that.
I think so. Vrabel almost acknowledged that the other day, and then he sort of just basically was like, well, they kept us out last year, but he didn't want to go to the yes, we want rid. But, yeah, I would think Titans fans would love that. I mean, I know, obviously, if you get into arguments with the Jags fans now, they're just going to be like, yeah, okay, poverty franchise.
Yeah, things change quickly in this league.
But still, you can have some fun with Duval.
Yeah.
So I would think so. I know a lot of Titans fans are still going to be like, nah, I don't care. Top 5 pick. Don't care. But I think there'd be some sad. I know in the locker room, in the building there would be, but I would think with the fan base there would be too.
By the way, Trevor Lawrence has been limited the last 2 days with a right shoulder and a left finger. So a right shoulder injury and a left finger injury.
Okay.
He's had the concussion this year. He had a high ankle sprain. It's been a rough few weeks for Trevor Lawrence.
I was just going to ask you, is that a high finger?
I don't know.
High finger strain?
They didn't specify which finger on the left hand he's dealing with either. I feel like there's a little bit more specific.
What would be the worst? I guess your index, right?
I guess so.
But then the thumb would be bad too.
Thumb
Would
be
you
bad.
put thumb on the injury report? Would that be a finger?
It's a good question. I feel like I've seen thumb before on the injury report.
A finger's not a thumb, but a thumb is a finger.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's why you
Jared.
come to this program.
That's right. Let's go to okay. Jared said, "I've just never been sold. Sorry, I'm on one today. Thank you for entertaining me and shutting down my bad takes." Oh, Jared, you're being way too kind. I call into Stillman and text into the biggest lie in Tennessee is we will get to your phones on the Stillman Show. So this is really about Jared.
Yeah, I like it.
There it is. Well, thank you for taking my insults, Jared, in stride. It's 6 o'clock hour.
Coming up next, it's time for Call Your Shot Friday. We'll take your called shots, your bold predictions in the world of sports. Hit up our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. That's next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The NFL season's wrapping up, folks. And it's time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Joe Rexrode here, letting you know new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Again, $150 bonus bets. That's win or lose. And on this app, which is so easy to use, a lot of different ways to bet. You got the live same game parlays. The Explore tab, that's new. You can find bets there. The Parlay Hub, that's the best way to find popular parlays and more. If I'm giving you a tip, and stick with what I've been saying all week, I think the Texans are going into Indy and winning that one. Do with that what you will. Visit FanDuel.com, insert promo code Joe102, make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. You must be 21 years old, present in Tennessee, first online remitted wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issue is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
sports weekend has arrived. You know what that means. It's time for Call Your Shot Friday with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's that time of the week. Time for Call Your Shot Friday here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your called shots, your bold predictions on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, how did we do last week in Call Your Shot Friday?
Well, you've already called out one of your excellent. Let's just go to your stuff. Let's say Robby, Nico, TD pass on the first drive. All Twitter claims a natty. That didn't happen. Well, the second part may have happened.
They're claiming a title, yeah.
This is how I wrote it. This is how I wrote your shot down. You said Iowa will score 20 points, and I just wrote in all caps, holy crap. So
they did not quite make it to 20.
Yeah, it was a – yeah.
Did they make it to 20 yards?
A bit shy. I don't know. Passing, there's no way they made it to 50, right? Preds and Red Wings combined for 11 goals. What was that final
They had
score?
9.
Yeah, you were very close there.
Close.
And Derrick Henry more than 100 yards from scrimmage. The Titans 24 points. Neither of those were close.
Good gracious.
Connor had Preds beating the Wings 4-2. O'Reilly with 2 goals and assists. And he had 250 and 3 for Nico. That's a little bit much. I said Nico more than 200. Nope. With 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. No picks, 1 touchdown.
4 total.
Here's some more smart analysis. Iowa will score 2 touchdowns. Why did I write holy crap on your thing? And I said Iowa's going to score 2.
That's because I just took it one step further. I don't know.
I mean, I had him with at least 14. Will Levis will have more passing yards than C.J. Stroud. No. And then I had Milroe with a rushing touchdown of more than 70 yards, which he did not. And he also, nice play there at the end, Bama.
Nice snap, too. It's good stuff. By the way,
he immediately
transferred, right?
Yeah, he immediately got in the portal. I mean, I can't imagine. We
rip on
time. We rip on Vol Twitter. I mean, what do you think Alabama football Twitter is? That dude. I mean, I hope he deleted all his accounts.
Yeah, imagine it didn't go over the well. Nick Keyser,
No.
your called shots for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start things off with some more hockey. So it's World Juniors right now. So we got a fabulous.
Get excited.
Yeah. Hey, I love watching this, okay? Give me a break. I love watching this. At 1:30, Team USA takes on Sweden after a really, really close game yesterday where Team USA had to come back down 2-0 after allowing 2 goals. And good to see them win. I'm going to say Team USA wins 5-4, Joe. And I'm going to say that they do so. They will also do it in comeback fashion. They will also come back down from 2 goals.
Okay.
So this you think qualifies as a called shot?
Yeah, why not?
Was that was that a shocking prediction?
I mean, I'm calling a championship gold medal game.
All right.
A little bit more sass coming from Keyser this morning.
We'll keep working on it. All right.
He did not get his beauty sleep last night, and he is all over you today.
I'm just saying it's a gold medal game.
All right.
Yeah.
My second called
It's a
shot.
prediction. It's a prediction.
Okay. Derrick Henry this weekend and perhaps his final game. We'll see. We'll have 2 touchdowns and at least 125 yards rushing. It's been kind of a slow season for him at times, and so I've seen him struggle. So I think that's pretty fair for possibly his last game. So Derrick Henry, 2 touchdowns, 125 rushing yards.
Okay.
Okay. We'll count that.
Joe Rexrode, your call shots for this week.
All right. Derrick Henry will have a reception of more than 30 yards.
Okay. That's a called shot. High point the ball?
No, I'm not saying. I don't know. I'm not saying
Just
that.
a reception of any kind.
Yeah.
This could be the last chance for the wheel route.
I mean, that throwback screen has had some good moments. Maybe it's time for one of those. But I'm with you. They need to try the wheel route. Harold Landry, just because of you, Jared from Spring Hill, 2 sacks for Harold Landry to wrap it up. Matt Duchene, hat trick at the expense of the Preds.
Oh, boy.
At home. And finally, and I do think this is absolutely a called shot, even though we know what he just did at Texas. Michael Penix will throw for more than 300 on that Michigan defense. That's a
shot.
A feat. Yes. So there you go.
My called shots. Michael Penix with an interception on the first drive of the game.
Ooh.
Just first drive of the game.
Yep.
Interception on the first drive of the game. Preds get shut out in Dallas. 0 goals for the Preds coming up tomorrow in Dallas. I just got a feeling. We'll see how it goes.
We're for seeing some good stuff from the Preds tomorrow.
Really,
in Dallas.
really think this is going to go very well for them. Trevor Lawrence will throw 3 interceptions on Sunday, dealing with a myriad of injuries that he's dealing with.
Wow.
And finally, Derrick Henry will finish with more than 30 carries. More than 30 carries for Derrick Henry on his way out the door.
That's a shot.
It is. I don't think he's even approached that this year, has he?
I don't believe he's exceeded 30 this year, no. But yeah, if he gets that would obviously mean they're in control of the game, or at least they're close in the game. I could see them being like, you know what, give him every possible carry you can give him.
Matthew from Jolton says Michigan will win the Natty by 21. Titans will beat Jacksonville by 10. And how about this one? UC Saros will be traded around the same time as Tyson Berry. This is from Matthew from Jolton.
Okay, well, there you go.
That's a
We're
shot.
Getting into the Saros.
That is a shot.
That's a shot.
Justin says Derrick Henry will have 2 touchdowns against Jacksonville. Does that count as a shot?
That's
Borderline?
That's on the Keyser side of things.
Wow.
Ed says, in honor of a nostalgic week, the Nissan Stadium grounds crew sets fire to the introduction tunnel as Derrick Henry is being introduced. P.S. There goes my resolution for being more positive. This is from Ed on the text
That's
line.
outstanding.
We need
Ed.
positive PK.
Thank you, Ed.
Oh, God, what a day that was.
Was it you that made the punt? Like after that game, the field was set on fire in the pregame, and little did we know that was an omen of what was to come for the Titans in that game.
I don't remember, but sure, I'll take credit for that. Derrick Henry's season high, by the way, 25 this year.
Okay.
25 for 80 against the Chargers.
Okay.
So there you go.
I got a text that says, hot take. Michigan wins the national championship, and in the offseason, Harbaugh faces a hefty suspension for sign stealing. The Titans trade or part ways with Vrabel and hire Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach.
Oh, bring in the
Think about that
Harbster. The Harbster. We had someone put together a little illustration with him with the Tennessee, Tenessee Titans.
Yes.
Hat.
A butchering of our state
Yeah.
being spelled incorrectly. But, yes, we did enjoy the graphic. A lot of people saying, I think we've got.
Bring the Harbster.
We've had 3 people on the text line. 2 touchdowns for Henry in his last game with the Titans.
Yeah.
Are we going to count this? We'll count it.
I think a shot for him has got to be 3 or more.
If it's
Right?
popular,
I think it's got to be 3
it
or
works. If it's popular, it's good, Joe.
more. Well,
I don't know if
it's
that's a good
popular.
life
accept it.
strategy.
If it's popular, it's almost for sure not a good called shot, right?
Yeah.
Well, damn it, give me 3.
Nick Keyser swearing. 6 o'clock hour.
We gotta get a hold
All
of
right,
him.
fine. I'm
What's
putting you
going
down
on?
for 3.
What's going on in there, man? Good gracious. 2 rushing, 2 receiving, 1 passing. Tanner. How about that?
Okay, we're going to put Tanner in here? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, tell me again.
2 rushing, 2 receiving, 1 passing. Monster
oh, my
day for Derrick
goodness.
Henry.
That's
a shot.
That's calling a shot right there.
Speaking of Derrick Henry, we'll get more into him coming up next. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Joe Rexrode with a nice conversation with Derrick Henry earlier this week, leading into what could potentially be his final game with the Tennessee Titans. We'll see what Joe learned coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll have Jared Stillman, who normally joins us on Fridays at 7. He'll be with us at 8 today. Stilly doing a little late night work last night, Joe. Some serious radio, so getting some of that beauty sleep. He'll be with us at 8 o'clock.
So you guys work all night and show up here at 5. So, but Jared can't wake up.
Jared even had Mountain Dew last night.
Jared can't roll over in his bed at 7 a.m. and get on the phone? That's too much? Okay. All right, Jared.
Apparently so.
Okay. Speaking of soft, I don't even know if we were speaking of soft, but
Is he-
let's bring up soft.
Yeah.
Jared Stillman.
I think he must be softer than the Titans' offensive line then, and especially after Wednesday's debate, he is struggling.
Damn, Keyser.
Keyser's on fire this morning.
Tired Keyser. Don't mess with him.
He's letting that microphone fly in there. I respect it. Way to go, Nick.
Don't swear, man. You
just
get
being
FCC
myself.
violation talking trash
Just
about Jared.
calm down in there. It's just going to be okay.
I'll be okay.
Taking your thoughts. 615-737-1025. Joe, you've got a story. Is it coming out today at The Athletic?
It's out.
It's out.
3,500 words about Derrick Henry, yes.
So, obviously, you talked about it a little bit yesterday. You got the opportunity for a one-on-one with Derrick Henry in advance of what could be his final game with the Tennessee Titans. What was that conversation like? And we'll give away everything that you've written at theathletic.com, which people can go check out. But what did you kind of glean and take away from that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, and Derrick was, he was good, and it was good to have a conversation. I mean, a lot of this story was talking to other people. Mike Mularkey, Terry Ribisky, Blake Bedingfield, Jarrell Casey, on and on and on. A lot of people that's been working on this for a while. And, some of the ideas to tell how it all came down, really interesting. I mean, I'll say this, for anybody who didn't know, and Blake Bedingfield writes for Kaharski's website, he's basically the reason Derrick Henry's a Tennessee Titan. So, and that 4 different people who were in the draft room that night confirmed, the same basic story on that. John Robinson did not want to speak for this, which I get. I tried with John. But I want to hit on that because actually that kind of relates to what we talk about a lot with the whole Vrabel Rand thing. Basically, to boil it down, Blake Bedingfield was director of college scouting at the time, and he kind of brought up the idea going into the day. The day, of course, it was the second day of the draft. Derrick Henry was hoping to go to the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys had the 4th pick. Everybody knew the Cowboys wanted a running back. Derrick Henry was hoping that he was basically going to be the next DeMarco Murray. Well, we know who the Cowboys took. They took Zeke. So, Derrick openly, he actually told Michael Casagrande from AL.com back then, yeah, I want to go to the Cowboys, which I get. I mean, you can go number 4 overall and be a Cowboy.
Sure.
And be DeMarco Murray had run for like 1875, I think, in 2013. I think that's right. Or actually in 2014. Then he had a bad year with the Eagles. Titans traded for him. Titans, nowhere on Derrick Henry's radar. Nowhere. He had visited Seattle, Carolina, etc. But the point is, the way this relates to all the discussion we have now about collaboration, because this is how it's supposed to work. When John Robinson got the job, and it's like John Robinson's the job, he makes the choices, right? But in this situation, first of all, Bedingfield brings it up in the morning. The draft starts at 6 p.m. In the morning, he brings it up to John Robinson and Mularkey. The 3 of them have a meeting. They're both like, huh? Which is, by the way, exactly my reaction when they drafted Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And I barely knew Jared, but if we could find the absolutely furious tweet of his, I remember it being like, who is this Stillman guy? He's a little out there, huh? You're like, what? Henry. But to be fair to him, I mean, he was not alone. It's like, you just traded for DeMarco Murray. Like, why would you draft Derrick Henry? So, but this is where director of college scouting, this is where, one, you don't want yes people in your personnel people. You want people who are going to challenge the GM, challenge coach, whatever, and fight for him. And Bedingfield believed he was going to be a star. And so he stood on the table, as they say. And he fought for him. And eventually they were going to draft Xavier Howard. He goes to Miami. They were looking at Chris Jones. How about that? Imagine, like, of course, then they probably don't take Simmons later, but looking at Chris Jones. It opens up to where Derrick Henry's available. And what happened is Malarkey had basically warmed up to what Bedingfield was saying, which was, you want to run this exotic smash mouth? DeMarco Murray's got some tread off the tires. This is a potentially great player. You take the great player, and he would fit perfectly. So Robinson said to Malarkey, all right, Mike. Now, John Robinson was GM. John Robinson had final say. John Robinson picked the players. He said, Mike, what do you think? Mike said, yeah, I'm with Blake. They picked Derrick Henry. So let's take it to all the other drafts since then. They had 2 together, Malarkey and Robinson. Vrabel and Robinson had 5 together. Do you not think there's been other times where Robinson was like, Mike, what do you think? Mike Vrabel, Mike Malarkey, what do you think? That's how it's supposed to be. That's what it is supposed to. That's what's supposed to happen in the draft room. And, of course, when it comes to Titans, and I know Blake said that, like in 2020 when Derrick Henry was having his 2,000-yard season, people were like texting him like, oh, thanks, man. Good job, But, I mean, I did not know that until, digging on this, and I think it's really interesting. But, again, it's Malarkey. Also, it comes down to the head coach, the GM. Everybody else at some point, okay, what are we doing? And Malarkey was one that, I think it's the right thing.
I wonder what those text messages
you got to thank him,
like
too.
When he was on the trading block.
Yeah.
Blake, what did you do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nice job, Blake. Crappy pick on your part. Yeah, back in 2018. And that's another thing going through all these memories and stuff. And Derek was really good. Again, Derek was very open in our conversation about, like, I mean, I hadn't heard this before, but he's like, he didn't take it. Going into 18, he thought, okay, DeMarco's done. It's my job. And he didn't take it seriously enough, which is really interesting. And obviously he figured it all out. It became great. But, I mean, you go back and it's like they were shopping him. He was the number 3 running back going into a game against the Patriots with David Fluellen getting carries before he got carries.
Yeah.
And a few weeks after that, he goes for 99 against the Jags, and all of a sudden it just flipped.
Well, it's interesting because, the 18, we've talked about him being on the block and then, eventually late in the 18 season kind of breaking out. I thought the playoff game in Kansas City in 17, well, I guess the 17 season, or 18
January
was the actual
of 18,
playoff game.
Right, yep.
He was great in that game. And I thought that was going to be the breakout game for Derrick Henry. And then the next season came around, and it just wasn't. And, I remember the conversation around here was like, that guy is so big, and he keeps, like, trying to run sideways and bounce everything outside.
Yes.
Why can't he just take it up the middle and go? And, obviously he's had some very successful runs where he's bounced it outside and done all those things. But, everybody points back to the conversation with Eddie George as kind of being the turning point in Derrick Henry's career, and it's kind of wild to think about what it was like before that.
No, and that's the thing. It really was. And, a lot of 18 was switching to your favorite OC, Matt LaFleur, his offense.
Love that guy.
And basically, all zone. And, the exotic smash mouth was much more gap than zone. So it was a big transition to that. But, it was also like, please start running over some people. I mean, I think Eddie George is very frank with him. Like, I don't know, one of the things he said was like, when you're getting hit, your legs are stopping. Like you can't, like, you're 6'3", 250. And of course, I was talking to Amani Hooker for this. He's like, he's 260, man. That didn't get in the story, but like, he's 260. It was probably more. I mean, he's got to be probably at least 255, right? But it's like, like run over people. So you put it all together. It's just been. You think then about all the favorite moments, and Derek didn't want to get into that. And yesterday at his presser for his 30th birthday, he didn't want to get into that. But
he did not.
The Buffalo run, beyond 99, the Buffalo run, not the stiff arm, but the run, 76-yarder for a touchdown that flipped that game on that Monday Night Football game, man. I think about the long TD he had at Seattle in a critical game at the beginning of the 21 season. And it's like most teams in the NFL, they're behind. You got Patrick Mahomes, or you got Joe Burrow, or whoever. You can throw it around the yard. You can, like Derrick Henry at one point was like, well, he might just hit a home run at some point and get you back in the game. And that's just very rare, obviously, especially now, for that to be a running back.
I'm skimming through the story right now, and again, I'm not going to give everything away, but one of my favorite lines in here is one that you had about Delaney Walker when they're in the huddle, and he says, "Hey, We need a running back. And Derrick Henry's standing right next to him in the huddle, and he's like, oh, I thought you were a tackle. Thought you were on the offensive line.
Sir, hello.
Excuse me. I am the running back.
What are you guys doing? We need a running back in this huddle. Yeah, that's the new running back, Delaney. Hi, Derek Delaney. Yeah. Well, and to that, another thing with that is, Derek, he was the second back taken, but it was obviously at 45, right? So a ways down. The combine, he runs a 4.54. 4.54, that's good. A 4.54 for a guy that size. But still, that doesn't do justice. And that's what Malarkey was saying to me. He's like, everybody, they interviewed at the combine. They, everybody saw him at Alabama and all that stuff. But like, it wasn't until you saw him in person, you're like, with pads, there's a difference that football speed where with him it was crazy, right? Yeah. Another thing about that, though, is he really didn't have any long plays until late in his second season. And then he had like the 66-yarder against the Jags to get in the playoffs. For people who remember, that was, of course, the day that Mariota also had the stiff arm run. Big time. Big time play.
Trash after that.
He did talk a little trash. To Barry, who was that? I forget.
Barry Church.
What's that?
Barry Church.
And there you go, Barry Church. But if Derek took a little swing or a little screen and went 66 that day, and you're just like, I remember being like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So then he has a huge game against Kansas City. But it wasn't all, it wasn't all just greatness and easiness, and maybe that made him better eventually. He has said one thing in our conversation is like, what if I would have been in that offense the whole time? What would that have looked like? And it probably would have been really good. But you know what? Maybe the way it turned out ended up making him even better. I mean, the offseason, the idea that Derrick Henry took an offseason easy, which is what he says, going into the 2018 season. I mean, as we see every year, he learned about that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's not done that since then. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. More of your thoughts on Derrick Henry in advance of what could be, I emphasize could be, his final game with the Tennessee Titans coming up on Sunday against Jacksonville. More on that coming up next. Tune in to 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tomorrow for Vanderbilt men's basketball, the Commodores taking on Alabama at home. Tip-off at 2:30, pregame beginning at 2 o'clock. Coverage also available on the 102.5 The Game app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by Chuck McDowell and Medical House Calls, Middle Tennessee's best medical care in the comfort and safety of your own home. For more information, go to medicalhousecalls.com. Medical House Calls, where the nearest clinic is your home. We are live from the Spring Hill Heating and Cooling Game Nashville studios, keeping your home feeling comfortable all year round. Visit springhillac.com. Discussing Derrick Henry and his potential last game with the Tennessee Titans coming up on Sunday. A nice piece from our very own Joe Rexrode at theathletic.com detailing how the Derrick Henry story for the Titans came to be. It's really fascinating to read through here. I remember, Joe, the first time, I had seen him, I think, the year before get in like garbage time with Alabama. But the first time I ever saw Derrick Henry in person was basically his coming out party in college football. I was down in Jerry World with a couple of buddies for Wisconsin and Alabama in 2015.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. And, it didn't go well for Wisconsin that night. They turned around, I think it was like the first drive, and they handed the ball off to him. And I think the year before he was wearing like 27 or whatever it was, and that's the first year he wore 2, which is the year he won the Heisman.
Yeah.
And he took off running. And I looked at my friend who's an Alabama fan. I was like, who is that? He's like, that's Derrick Henry. I was like, oh, that's Derrick Henry. Yeah, I think he's going to do some things this year. And little did we know, he did.
Yeah.
It was wild to watch.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, to go back through the draft analysis. I mean, again, 45 is pretty good to go 45, but, like, the achievement he had that year, you'd expect that to be a first-round pick. But there was some talk. I actually included a little Dane Brugler, little snippet about him, being too upright. Easy to, like long legs, the upright thing. And obviously, 2016, it's more now, but certainly we were well into the era of your main running back should be a pass catcher, right? Your main running back should be, you should be a choice route runner and things like that, and that wasn't what he was. So that's why it was perfect here for him with that offense, with Terry Robisky's, say whatever you will about Robisky and Malarkey, pretty spot-on marriage there, I would say, of player and scheme.
Yeah, no question. It's interesting. We talked about so many of the moments yesterday, and obviously the playoff run comes to mind in 2019, and some big runs that he had down the stretch of that season. 2020 he runs for 2,000 yards, had some obviously huge games there. I think back to the game in Baltimore in the regular season. I think it was 2020 that year too, when he won the walk-off in overtime, and that was the game where A.J. Brown drug like 9 Ravens with him into the end zone, and it was a COVID game, so nobody was in there. It was just a walk-off there, and he was yelling at Earl Thomas after the game of that one too. It was his stretch where he was at the top of his game. I mean, it's as good as we've seen in the league. That's why it felt like every week he would do something where it was like, and Derrick Henry joined only Jim Brown and Walter Payton as so-and-so to do this. And
Barry Sanders, Eric Dickerson.
Yeah, like it was like every week there was a new stat that he was in elite company with. And, we crunched the numbers at the time. Like he went through and I don't remember specifically what the numbers were because it's been so long ago now, but he went through like a 30-some-odd game stretch where it was the best yardage in the league history.
Yeah.
Like it was wild what he was able to do, especially in this era.
Yeah, exactly. No, that day, what a weird day that was in that stadium. Nobody in there, and then you have the pregame fight where like Harbaugh and Vrabel are barking at each other, and it's like you're in the press box, and it's like you can't hear every specific word, but like you can hear them yelling because there's nobody else in the whole. This was so weird. But I forgot about that walk-off. But like that or the Buffalo or getting him back in the game against Seattle. It's just stuff that you don't normally see. Certainly now, especially from a running back. And no, it was can't miss, and that's the thing. I mean, to me, that's where he does compare to, and I still believe that. I would, if I'm buying popcorn, it's one position group that I've enjoyed watching the NFL. It's the running backs as much as they're great quarterbacks and great receivers. I've had this argument with Kaharski. He's like, no, Randy Moss and guys like that. And I get that, but Barry and Peyton and Billy Sims and Dickerson and all these guys, and it's not quite the same anymore. But Derrick Henry was a throwback in that way, and I think he was as you got to stop and watch what he's doing, a player as the league had for a couple years.
The one thing about his Titans career that I think we're always going to look back and just wonder about is like what happens if he never hurts the foot in Indy in 2021, right? I mean, but prior to that, you know, he had played 8 games. He had already been carrying the ball 219 times in 8 games, which is just an absurd amount. He had 937 yards. You know, that was the first year of the 17-game schedule, and he was on pace to have 2,000 yards again, and that would have been back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. If he wouldn't have gotten to 2,000, he probably would have been pretty darn close. And there was all that conversation the year after he ran for 2,000 in 2020 of, yeah, I mean, just look at the numbers. When somebody runs for 2,000 yards, they can never follow it up.
Right.
And the number, I mean, history is always going to look back and say, well, he couldn't follow it up because he got hurt.
Right.
But, I mean, it was just such a freak way to get hurt on the turf in Indy. And I always wonder, like, number one, would he have reached 2,000 yards again and been back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, which I think if he did that, he'd be a lock for a Hall of Fame. I think he's going to end up being a Hall of Famer anyway, but I think it would have been a lock at that point. And also, I mean, it is, you know, we spend so much time talking about Tannehill and the interceptions and all those things in Cincinnati. Not a lot of time talking about, like, Derrick Henry, I think clearly wasn't right in that game, and he was healthy enough to get back out there and play, but he wasn't Derrick Henry, if that makes any sense. And I do wonder, like, if he never gets hurt, is even that game a little bit differently? I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll never know, but that's the one thing about his Titans career. It's like, man, I just wish he didn't get hurt in 2021.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a big what if. The interesting thing about that, going from 20 to 21. Now, remember in 20, midway through, Taylor Lewan has the injury, the ACL, and so. But they made it work up front. They had. Well, they had Quesamair, but they also had
Sombrilo.
Thank you, Ty Sombrilo. So they made it work. They were still good in the interior. Saffold, Ben Jones, all that stuff. But you know, he averages 5.4 a carry in 20.
Yeah.
So in 21, he went down to 4.3 a carry.
It's a huge drop off.
And so he was still on that pace, but he was also on a pace to have like 400. I mean, he was on a pace to set the record for carries.
Yeah.
So he goes in the first 3 years of Vrabel, he's 4.9, 5.1, and 5.4 a carry. In the next 3, the last 3 seasons, it's 4.3, 4.4, and now this season 3.9. And you know that speaks to decline and regression, all this stuff. You know, yards above expected. I think he's 3 yards above expected this year, whereas he was hundreds back then. So, you know, he has declined some, and yet I still think he's really good. And I still think that it's almost like the discussion we were having earlier about Saros. You know, that sometimes it's hard to exactly figure out what's his fault, what's other people's fault. I still think Derrick Henry's a really good player that if he was in an offense with a good offensive line that had a good passing game, yeah, I think he could still be really effective in the NFL next year.
Yeah. Wes in Clarksville says, we're not going to talk about how it could be Tannehill's last game, too.
We did
part
earlier.
Of our success. We did talk about that.
We did talk about that, but thank you for bringing it up. You're the first person.
Well, it's not could be. It's going to be Tannehill's last game as tight.
Exactly.
I mean, basically said it the other day.
There's some there's some question with Derrick Henry, you know, but there's no question with Ryan Tannehill.
No, it's going to be. And like I keep hearing the idea, well, just make Tannehill the backup. Yeah. He's not going to do that, guys.
He will be elsewhere.
Yeah. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on Derrick Henry and the Titans. Plus, something I saw yesterday that I'll be honest with you, Joe, kind of blew my mind. We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Discussing Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill's potential last game. Maddie on the text line says, no mention of Andre Dillard's last game coming up on Sunday. Tisk, tisk.
Are we sure that they need to move on?
I mean, technically, if they wanted to. He's under contract for 3 years.
Exactly. He had 2 more years on his deal. What is that dead money hit, by the way? I don't think it's bad.
I don't think it's that bad, but I mean, there are going to be Titans fans that say if you're paying him $1 in dead money, it's just a total waste.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 8 o'clock hour tribute to Andre Dillard.
Stay tuned. I would
was
assume
was that a laugh from Nick Keyser in there?
I think it was. He's
Nick.
Finally gotten in a better mood.
Tired Nick cheering up.
I've been fine the whole time.
Got some coffee there, buddy? All right. Yeah. Small cup.
Way to go, Nick. Ron on the text line says, if Henry reaches what if Henry reaches the milestone? Let me see if I can piece this together. Ron, it'd be a little bit better with the text. What if Henry reaches a milestone that's in reach this weekend and retires after the season? Is it all a possibility now of the window for him to make the Hall of Fame in the near future? Definitely not first ballot. Yeah. This from Ron.
Let me trust you. Let me trust you. Let you trust me that he's not retiring.
He's not going to retire.
No. He's.
If he did right now, would he be a Hall of Famer? I don't know. I think that depends on the eye of the beholder. I think you can certainly make a case.
You can make a case. I think, getting to 10,000 is definitely. It's just one of those statistical markers that seems important to me. I don't know. It's still those people in the room talking it over. I mean, I still a lot of the whole conversation on that is dominance in his era, which I've heard both sides of that, which is one is he was the best player for a time at that position, and that means something. And then, other people will argue against him and say, it's kind of like this isn't the time of defenses are lighter and all this stuff. So, I mean, to me, I think that's a weak way to argue against him. But I'm just saying, a lot of different things to be discussed. I think he's got to do more to get in. That's just my opinion.
Joe, I saw something yesterday that blew my mind. So every now and then I take a gander on the FanDuel Sportsbook and just start looking at some future stuff just to see what people are thinking and where the money's at and all these things. And I looked at the 2024 Heisman Trophy winner odds on FanDuel Sportsbook yesterday. And names that you would expect are at the very top of the list. Quinn Ewers, sounds like he's coming back to Texas. Yep. So, obviously he's going to have a chance. Carson Beck with Georgia, Jalen Milroe with Alabama. All three of those guys are tied at the top at plus 750 for the best odds to win the Heisman Trophy next year. Dylan Gabriel, a quarterback who transferred. Where'd he go? He was at Oklahoma. Is he in?
So he started at UCF.
Yeah.
Went to Oklahoma.
I can't remember where he is right now.
So, well, he's in Oregon now.
Oregon.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, UCF, Oklahoma, Oregon. Yeah.
So Gabriel, quarterback at Oregon. Will Howard, who's now going to be at Ohio State.
From Kansas State, which is an interesting – I mean, they run out McCord, who I don't think is good enough if they want to win a national championship, but I don't know that he is.
So Will Howard, technically the fifth best odds to win the Heisman Trophy. Tied with Will Howard is Nico Iamaleava of the Tennessee Volunteers.
So he's tied for – well, not second, but he's tied for fourth then?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So we knew the hype was going to be large. The hype, even on the FanDuel Sportsbook, very, very high for Nico on the short list of best odds to win the Heisman Trophy after playing one game.
Well, you know what? You get some people putting some money down on that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's wild. I would not have guessed that. It's interesting some of the stuff they come up with. I mean, we were, as we've talked about many times, we were all over them like, why would Vrabel be that high in your hot seat rankings? I mean, prominent program. There's a lot of excitement for him. Who else? Like, who's behind him? Because that's the thing. It's like, are there some obvious players who should be ahead of him who aren't?
So Jackson Arnold is right behind him. Connor Wegman is behind him. They've got J.J. McCarthy on the list. I think he's probably going to be in the draft.
Probably, yeah.
Jackson Dart from Ole Miss at plus 2,000 is behind him.
See,
DJ Uiagalelei, that apparently is always going to play college football.
Yeah,
is on the list.
Okay, so when you get to First of all, it's all quarterbacks, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
all quarterbacks. When
Brady Cook, way down the list.
Yeah, when you
Shedeur Sanders, way down the list.
Okay. I mean, it's still surprising, but the list is kind of – it just – at this point, I would think that anybody that high would be someone who has done something. Like Jackson Dart, to me, should have better – like, he should be higher in the list than Nico, right? And in fact, I know that, Quentin Judkins just left Ole Miss, which is kind of a shocker, and there's some reporting out there that maybe it was mutual, whatever. But what Lane did in the portal this year, actually –
They're going to be good.
They're going to be good.
Yeah.
And so I would think that Jackson Dart would actually be on a shorter list than that. I would think he'd be quite a bit higher than that.
By the way, you know who is on the list of Heisman? And by the way, this list goes deep. So, I mean, you can make an argument like every player in America is on this list.
Wow.
But A.J. Swan at plus 10,000 odds to win the Heisman Trophy now at LSU.
Well, he's not going to start.
He's at plus 10,000 odds.
Backup Heisman? Is there a backup player Heisman?
I would not put my money on that, I don't think.
Okay, where's Garrett Nussmeier?
He is right behind Nico and Connor Wegman. He's at plus 2,000.
Okay. Wow. So their backup quarterback
He's
is
on the list.
He's on the list. All right. So Navy Schuler, is he on there? Is Navy
No,
Schuler on there?
I haven't seen him yet.
Okay. All right.
But I mean, like Travis Hunter is at plus 12,000. Nico got way better odds than Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders.
Travis Hunter does have to play next year, right? Yes.
Yes.
See, he should be Travis. I mean, I don't know what they would have to do as a team, but Travis Hunter is the kind of talent that to me should be way up there on that list.
Look, I'm not shocked he's on the list because, like I said, I mean, this list. I mean, you could find one from almost every program on the list.
But
but
sure.
he's top 5. He's top 5 Heisman odds heading into next season. Which, again, like if you're Tennessee, that's what you're hoping he was when you signed him, right? Is that he's competing for the Heisman Trophy and he can lead you to the college football playoff and that he's going to be a high draft pick one day. So, like, if you told me that in Nico's career he would be a Heisman finalist, I would say, okay, yeah. I mean, that's what they signed him to be.
Yeah.
But after having played he's played more, but after having started one college football game to already be in the top 5 of the Heisman favorites heading into next season is pretty wild to me. And I think just kind of explains what we've been talking about all week, that the hype for him and for them next year heading into the year is going to be outrageous.
Yeah. It certainly speaks to, and some odds that you see speak to fan base, I think, but also that's the thing. It's what's the optimism level? What do odds makers think about the Vols? Just the Vols themselves next year.
Yeah.
What's the over/under going to be on their win total next year? Is that out there?
It's a good question. I haven't seen it. I mean, look, you've got Alabama and Georgia, as you normally do. You've got Oklahoma on the road. I mean, Missouri, they're good.
They don't play Missouri, though, right?
Do they not?
I don't think so. I don't think they get to have revenge on Eli for a while.
So Eli's just going to hold on to that one for a while.
He's going to stand on business and just skate away.
So I guess that's good. You dodge Missouri. I think you do have – who's their another West crossover? I think they've got Arkansas.
There's no divisions.
I know. It's going to take me 2 years to get that out. Like everybody calls the Chargers the San Diego Chargers. It's going to take me years to get out of that.
I'll never stop.
But I think they got like Arkansas next year.
They do have Arkansas. Yeah, they miss Ole Miss. Do they have – I mean, they've got a lot of –
they got a lot of winnable games.
They do. But, the fact is they have to go to Athens and they have to go to Norman.
Yeah.
And, NC State and Charlotte, they're at least solid. You get Florida at home.
Heck, Florida.
You get Kentucky at home, Mississippi State at home. It's not bad. There are worse SEC schedules than what they have.
If I had to guess what their win total, their over-under is going to be heading into next season, it's probably going to be 8.5.
Yeah. I
That'd
think
be
you're
my
probably right, which some people are not going to be excited about, and that's not going to get Nico a Heisman if they hit the over and go 9-3.
Well, in order for him to get in there under serious consideration, man, you're going to have to beat at least one of the 3 of Oklahoma, Alabama, or Georgia, right? I mean, probably more likely 2 of the 3. If you're going to win the Heisman.
Yeah, like if they were to go 10-2. get into the 12, beat one of those teams, and he has a Hendon Hooker-like production season, then sure. Then Vegas knows. Vegas always knows.
The odds are outrageous. It's pretty wild. He's in the top 5 of Heisman.
For you, Nico.
I mean, does he move up before the year? Like, are people going to throw some money on this?
Well,
could we be looking at a Nico like Heisman favorite heading into next season?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I bet you there's a few of your fellow Vols fans who be willing
Slid
to
a few dollars
throw
over
a
there.
few bucks on that. Why not? Make it more
so.
interesting.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, it's time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. We'll do that coming up next. Make sure you tuned in for our NFL pregame show. Join Jarrett Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason at Teddy's Tavern this Sunday from 9:30 to 11:30 for our NFL pregame show. They'll break down the Titans' Week 18 matchup against the Jaguars and give you the latest updates before the game. Our NFL pregame show presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Beast Unleashed. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment, let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
It is that time of the day, time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45. Some Kokomo in the background, which nice tropical vibe outside right now at 30 degrees.
You know, when I was about Nick's age, not too much younger than Nick, in the morning when I was tired like you were today, Nick, a little cranky like you know how you been today?
Yeah.
A little ornery, a little cranky. When I heard that song, I had to go to high school, and I heard this song. Oh, I wanted to break stuff.
I love how you said, when I was Nick's age, going to high school at the age of 25.
Well, like I said, a little bit, same demo.
Joe was a late bloomer.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
Mom, what's this grown adult doing in the high school class over here?
Hello, kids. Yeah. Whatever. 18, 25, 16, 23, whatever, right? Okay.
Joe, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks. Well, actually, the floor is not mine.
It's not.
The floor is not mine today. The floor belongs to our friend, Teresa Walker, because there's somebody here in Nashville media who talks a lot of trash, who needs to, I don't know, Teresa, is it name names? Is that what we're saying here?
Yes, you should absolutely name names. When you come into a workroom as a person and have a conversation, and then you take it and create it and turn it into content without using the people's names, it's just more than a little annoying, especially when mostly at my expense. And I want to explain, because while I was covering the bowl game on Saturday, the Music City Bowl, and somebody said that more reporters need to be like Jared Stillman and ask some tough questions. And I had to go to the person and say, well, there's a difference. There are radio people like Jared. He's really good at what he does. If he's being paid over there to take positions and flip-flop in the wind, as it were, and come up with the hottest takes he can, that's fine. But there's a difference between doing that, being a pundit or being a talking head or a reporter, someone like yourself, someone like Robby, that I see going in. We go to locker rooms, we talk to players, we talk to assistant coaches, other coaches. We have relationships with the people we cover. Hence, we have deeper understandings of the issues. And we're not looking so much to drive ratings, I guess, is what I'm saying. And while we do like clicks, we want people to read our work. I want people to understand that when I give an opinion and then you go out and on the air and start, criticizing it and using it as part of the old media. Sorry, I've just happened to cover the NFL team that's been here 27 seasons since before it got here, and have paid attention to all the hirings, firings, personnel issues. And, I saw a teeny bit of segment of Jared yesterday. The salary cap is real. And how I know it's real? Because in 2005, there were a handful of Titan stars, Derek Mason to Kevin Carter, released by this team, because no matter how easy the LA Rams might make it, and I know that, and Jared finally, included my name on social on Saturday, so he finally put my name in his mouth and came at me and said that, the Kansas City Chiefs were able to find a good offensive tackle. Yeah, watch Pat. Catch his passes, because they went and spent the money. Apparently, the Titans should have spent more wisely on a left tackle. Teams make mistakes, and guess what? This team is paying for a lot of mistakes made by the last general manager, and the new general manager and Mike Vrabel. Yes, Andre Dillard is a traffic cone. When we thought it couldn't get worse than Dennis Daly, they found somebody that could. But you know what? He was a first-round pick. The Titans paid the going rate. It is what it is. And it's just, I have been more than a little ticked just hearing that, we were, the group in the media workroom, where conversations are conversations. They're not supposed to be taken and aired on air or used for your content without at least a polite, here you go, how you doing, this is who said it, and maybe give the chance for rebuttal. But then again, Joe, Robbie, I'm in it to do facts. I do fact-based reporting with statistics, information, and yes, the relationships, because I actually do reporting like I've seen you guys do.
Right.
Wow. Hey, yeah. So I was just gonna say I'm guilty sometimes. It's just like Glenn will say, Mike, tree, and then I'll rip Glenn. But so just let's give people the background though, Teresa, on the specifics of. So this is Jared. So he's basically talking about Vrabel, right? This is about Vrabel. Am I right? This is rooted in basically he's blaming, quote unquote, the old heads, the old guard for being too defensive of Vrabel. Is that basically what this boils down to?
Yes, because that was a conversation a week ago Tuesday in the media workroom before our availability with Mike Vrabel, and that I think it was their second straight loss. It's an ugly season, right? And yes, and I understand. Trust me, on Sunday during the game, Titan fans were mad at me. I felt like the Kit Harington character in Game of Thrones, one of the last episodes of that great season, Battle of the because Titan fans they did not want to hear anything. And I made it very clear a week ago Tuesday, and I was probably the loudest person in the room, saying, pointing out X, Y, and Z as to why this is not so much on Vrabel. And people, why do you think he's a defensive coach? Because he played 14 years in the NFL? Because he has Derrick Henry, a guy who, with every rushing touchdown, is putting himself closer and strengthening a Pro Football Hall of Fame argument. He's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of back for a franchise that's had three of these guys. I know what they look like, and I know the names that I write down every time I turn around. You lean into that strength. This team had to revamp the offensive line. Absolutely. Didn't get it right. And he was saying he's wanting to point fingers elsewhere. And again on Saturday pointed out, well, the Chiefs found a way to get a decent tackle in the market. Guess what? Last I checked, people make personnel mistakes. John Robinson got fired December 6, 2022, because he made way too many of those. And everyone presumes, and part of what I was saying was there was a lot of presumption that Mike Vrabel was hand in hand walking down that lane with John Robinson making decisions. And I made clear that I thought Amy Adamstrong, who I was the one that talked to her when I made the request on behalf of Nashville media for her to talk to us, she did a one-on-one with me. And, guess what? If she thought Mike Vrabel, who also just recently signed a contract extension around the same time John Robinson did, I think she might have fired Mike as well as the GM. And instead she hired a GM in Rand Carthon and has made it pretty clear that she wants them working together. And guys, I also made clear that this was such a hot mess. It could not be cleaned up in one off season. Why? Again, a salary cap. They did not have the resources in the cap. Do we forget all the people that they had to cut, Jared, to actually be able to put together some of the team this year? And yes, they made a mistake at Andre Dillard. But again, if you're going to take and come into a workroom and have a conversation, name names. I am more than happy to have this discussion with him on his show because you know what? I base my reporting on facts, statistics, and I'll just say this, guys. I'm going to kind of wrap it up a little bit. I remember when Mike Mularkey was the interim and interviewing for the permanent job that he did get, and Jared was on radio and he said, no, this would be the worst move possible. They can't keep him. That's the easy, this shouldn't happen. Right after Mike Mularkey was announced as the new full-time coach after the search, greatest move these Titans have ever made. So I'm just saying, stick with, Jared, I guess you're doing what you've got to do for your job. That's fine. Don't bring me into it.
Teresa, this has been an excellent addition to the Rex One. We appreciate so much you dropping by today.
My pleasure, guys.
Any other day you want to step in for me, too, let me know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, I can be hot. And next time I'm mad at somebody, I'll give you a yell, Joe.
All right, there we go.
Teresa Walker here with us on the Rex Fan. I enjoyed that. That's good stuff.
Too. Name names, Jared.
Oh, boy. Speaking of Jared, he's coming up next.
I guess he gets.
I guess we'll get his response.
I guess so. I guess he gets to have a rebuttal.
615.
If he's awake yet,
He may not be.
You okay,
he may be
Jared?
waking up like right now. We'll see. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll be joined by Jared coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. And we welcome in our friend Jared Stillman to the program. Normally Friday mornings at 7, but I do a little slumbering this morning. Now with us at 8 o'clock. Jared, how are you? What's going on?
Oh, I am. I'm great. I came up here eating my banana this morning. Just let's see what Robbie and Joe are talking to. I connect to the station, and I just hear Teresa going crazy on me, which I was not prepared for it. 7:50 in the morning.
I enjoyed every last second of it. I thought it was beautifully said.
Shockingly, I did too.
Well, your thoughts on what
I
Teresa
hope
had
you
to
learned
say.
a lesson to name names, Jared.
Well, so that was my favorite
names.
part, right? At the very, very end, Teresa was like, if Jared wants to talk, he should name names and he should bring me on his show. But if he's got to do what he's got to do, leave me out of it. It's like, so what do you want? Do you want me to put you in it or do you want me to leave you out of it?
Well, she probably either don't rip her or if you do, name her name.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty simple.
By the way, she's not the only person that's covered this team for forever.
Go on.
That is giving me the same finger wagging of, Jeff Fisher, if you fire him, somebody else will hire him tomorrow. He'll go to USC. Robbie knows what I'm talking about too. He'll go to USC. He's a great coach. You're so lucky to have Jeff Fisher. Teresa's not the only person back in the day that used to do that when I was a kid and I was traumatized by it.
Names.
What? I mean, I'm not supposed to say, media room work talk apparently unless I ask if I can say it. And then I'm supposed to name names. I'm so confused. It's so early in the morning. I don't know what I'm supposed to do
I think
anymore.
Teresa has flustered Stillman here. I think there's a little bit of flustering going on.
Tell us more about how early it is. These guys are
I
were at
don't-
the hockey game
I
last night.
don't
Got in here at 5
understand.
a.m., but tell us more about that.
I don't understand. Okay, I don't understand. Am I not? So I'm not supposed to say what she said, which again is what she came on and reiterated it on this program. I'm not supposed to say that unless I talk to her ahead of time because that's media workroom talk. But I said it, and I didn't say her name, so she wouldn't be responsible for that. And so she wants me to name names, but she also wants me to leave her out of it. I love Teresa. I do. This is not, you know me, I don't take these kind of things personally.
You don't.
But, I mean, I'm trying to figure out. I'm thinking that we're going to have a Jared versus Joe style debate with Teresa.
I
at some
think
point
we
on
might.
the Company Company program.
Well, that-
I just think it's going to happen.
Yeah, that'd be great. But I think it's, as far as the conversation.
Oh, by the way,
if
I'm
I
sorry,
talk
Joe.
to you, no, hold on. If I talk to you, I assume you're going to take it to the air. So, I just assume that. But I think if you're criticizing someone, regardless of what the conversation was, if you summarize it and say, yeah, these old heads or whatever, wagging their finger about variable, yeah, then I think you need to name names in that situation. You need to name names. Yes.
Well, is she not finger wagging about Vrabel? There was nothing they could have done at left tackle outside of Andre Dillard, and mistakes happen, and that's why pencils have erasers. Okay.
Huh?
I mean, that's basically the excuse.
Nick
that she
Keyser, look how he's
gave
so
on the
angry
program.
about that.
He's just engaged in there now. It's good stuff.
Is he actually listening to the show? I heard with Paul the other day. He wasn't.
He was
Paul
not
was like,
listening the other day.
Nick!
Nick, look
Like,
it
I'm
up.
sorry you're boring him, PK.
Look it up, Nick.
No, I left Paul outside so he could become a popsicle, basically,
you did.
unintentionally.
Also, I love Paul being like, Nick, look it up. Like, apparently you work for Paul now.
Apparently so, and apparently I'm Google to him or Siri.
He knows your name, though. So
That's a good start.
Hey, that is true. I don't know, man. I guess I'm just the worst thing since Elvis Presley. Who knows?
Jared, your thoughts on what could potentially be Derrick Henry's final game coming up on Sunday against the Jags? It's going to be an interesting week. I mean,
I'm sorry to completely not answer this question. There's something I want to bring up.
Oh, you go ahead.
Teresa, again, and I love her. I do. She's in the Hall of Fame. She's great.
All due
We're not
respect.
going to talk about anything else.
All
She's
due
flustered.
respect. Here's
Well,
some disrespect.
There is one thing, though, that, this whole, I work in facts. And then she brings up this whole, Jared said that Mike Mularkey was going to be the worst thing that ever happened to the Titans. I never said that when he was the interim coach. First of all, I wanted him to get the interim job. I don't want to sit here and brag, but I was the first person to call for Kid Wisenhunt to be fired.
You were.
I wanted him to get the interim job And when he was the interim coach, I wanted him to get the full-time job. And I remember everybody complaining. I think the old saying was 18-36 because that was his record with the 2 stops in Jacksonville and Buffalo. And I was like, look, man, everybody stinks in Buffalo and everybody stinks in Jacksonville. So I didn't have a problem with that. I never was anti-Mike Mularkey. I mean, I got on his ass when he was the head coach and he made mistakes like that fake punt at Arizona. But I didn't want him fired. I was totally fine with him being hired. I didn't have any issue one way or another with that. So that's just not true.
Okay, do you want to ask him, Derek Henry? Because I have a question. I
don't think we're getting it.
No?
You go ahead. Go ahead. Ask the
Okay.
question.
All right, question for Robbie.
Okay.
Jared's DeAndre Hopkins haircut is a sign that Vrabel's lost life. When Jared's all done someday and retires, will that be a Hall of Fame Jared idiotic take?
I think it will be, Jared. That was one of your best ones. I appreciated it.
So I actually was talking to Joe about this the other day off the air, which I don't know. Joe, am I allowed to tell people what we were texting about? Because I need to make.
yeah,
okay.
no, you're asking.
Have you signed
now?
the release
now you're
form
gonna ask?
so
Yeah,
that we
okay.
can? Okay. So I was texting
Consent
Joe.
form.
I was laughing my ass off at the fact that you guys, capital J journalist Joseph Robinette Rexrode Jr. lets freaking PK, another capital J journo, come on the
Lets
show
him.
and bring on a Chad Forbes tweet as like,
Yeah.
see,
No,
here's some
because
evidence.
PK clears everything he says on here with us first. What?
I mean,
what are you
a
talking
Chad
about?
Forbes tweet. Yeah, but at least you did kind of question it a little bit, but you should have questioned it more. And so PK brings a Chad Forbes tweet on the air, and I texted Joe with like the laughing emoji because I'm like, wow, that is like, again, like that's like even I wouldn't do that. And so so then Joe, of course, in a deflecting way, is like, what about your DeAndre Hopkins haircut? And I said, oh, okay, I guess you're right. I guess you're right, Joe. And Chris Sanders and Derek Mason, who on the pregame show got on DeAndre for getting the haircut while doing his press conference the other day.
They
I
got
guess
on
they
him.
know nothing about the decorum
Well, I
of
wanna
wide
hear how they
receiver
got
locker
on
room
him.
decorum. And Joe was like, what does that mean? I'm like, you know exactly what that means, Joe.
Now, you know what my favorite part of this is, Robbie?
What's that?
I'm going to read the tweet. I mean, I have Jared muted, but I have this. Actually, I have this nice DeAndre Hopkins quote tweet of it.
The one he deleted because he knows he was wrong?
I don't know. Is that why some people just tweet and delete? And I don't know. But
Either that or somebody said, DeAndre, you're probably wrong on this. You know, Jared Stillman's right. You're wrong. You might want to delete this.
But this is the underrated part of the tweet. Quote, Jared Stillman, quote,
Okay.
Today was the first moment when I started wondering if Mike Vrabel has lost the locker room. You've been talking about him losing the locker room for 3 freaking months. This is the first moment?
When did I talk about him losing the locker room?
Dude, you've had entire shows about Vrabel lost the locker room.
I haven't had entire shows about
Jess.
Vrabel losing the locker room. I've had entire shows about Vrabel and the GM hating each other. And then the team sends out a Christmas card without Rand Carthon's picture on it.
Oh, here we go.
Don't blame me for that.
Here we go.
It always comes back to the Christmas
12th
card.
Titan, John Stryker. Folks, he's going to be the GM. They're getting us ready for it.
Hey,
the problem is you have too many
know.
sweet takes.
I don't know if I should name names or not here, but somebody who goes on my show and your show once a week said to me the other day, is this where the power play comes? And this wasn't in a sarcastic way. This was in a serious way. Said, is this where the power play comes, where they're going to try to move Stretch in as the general manager? And that same person said a couple years ago.
It's been the long play all along.
Person
You know when
said
they
to me,
hatched the plan
Joe,
on the plane
hush.
from Green Bay, Jared,
That
on the
same
plane from
person
Green
said
Bay.
to me that when Diana Rossini said, when Stretch was the acting head coach with Vrabel having COVID, and Diana Rossini said that he's going to be a GM one day, that person, Corey, said to me, that's when he wondered, and so, again, question is this the what? And is this one of those things, kind of like Nick Folk missing his extra points, where if I was wrong the first time but right the second time, do I still get the credit for being right? Like, let's say there is a power struggle here, And let's say it's, the Christmas card gate. And there's this huge power struggle, and they end up firing Rand. And so Amy says, all right, fine, Mike, you're in charge of the organization, and you're going to sink or swim one way or another. And he makes Stretch the GM, who he said either in a press conference or in his coach's show or something, somewhere, he talked about how me and Stretch watch all this tape of every team across the league. And so Stretch becomes a GM. Then am I right, Joe?
No. You're trying to claim that their show was trying to brace us for Stretch to be the freaking GM. It's like someone on the text line is like, yeah, good job, Jared. You can claim that you were right on Rand if he gets fired 5 years from now. Like you claim you were right on Wisenhunt. You're right on things change and then something happens and you're like, well, I was right. Great. You call for everybody to be fired in their first year of job. Great.
I haven't called for Andrew Burnett to be fired. I haven't called
not yet.
Barry Trotz to be fired.
Right, because you think they're going to win the Cup this year, and then when they don't,
I haven't even called for Clark Lee to be fired.
Right, but
and he's had a bad year.
Right, but you're at this with those guys. You're like way overboard fanboy honeymoon right now, right? Like they can do
Clark
no
Lee?
wrong. No, with Brunette and Trotz.
I mean, I think they're doing a decent job, and I like that. And I went 8 years without calling for a firing on the Tennessee Titans. That is like the standard for how long it takes somebody to be fired in the NFL. So the thing is
and they went to the playoffs every year, but yeah, wow.
No, they didn't.
Congratulations.
They didn't go to the playoffs last year. I didn't call for anybody to be fired. They didn't go to the playoffs for Vrabel's first year after he inherited a playoff team from Mike Mularkey, and I didn't call for anybody to be fired.
Wow, congrats.
But my point is I think that, again, I have this reputation as somebody who, Jared Stillman wants to fire everybody.
Yeah.
But the
it's
problem
just an
with
unfounded reputation.
The problem with that is that there are so many different teams here. I was talking to somebody about this last week at a Christmas party, and they accused me of wanting to fire everybody like you do all the time. And I
Which
said,
is accurate.
And I said, who have I called for to be fired?
Again, so Jerry Stackhouse may get fired this year.
Yes.
Right.
Do you think
great.
Jerry Stackhouse should be fired?
Jared, you called for it in his first
Hold
year.
on.
He was
I'm not
SEC.
talking to you anymore.
No.
Do you think Jerry Stackhouse, Robbie, do you think Jerry Stackhouse should be fired?
Yes.
Okay. Give me another person I've called to be
if
fired.
Jared said something in 2019, he was right all along.
David Poyle and John
Jared.
Hines. Robbie, David Poyle and John Hines. Was it time to go?
Yes.
Okay, so I was right about that. Ackerman.
Yes.
I was right about that.
Right. Ding. He's right. He's always right. Again, it's like Ackerman. You whined about all the kickers that they kept cutting and stuff. This year, Ackerman did fireable stuff. So now you were right before.
Did he?
Okay.
Because everybody told me that it's not Ackerman's fault that they can't catch punts. It's not Ackerman's fault that they're hitting the snapper in the neck and costing them the Cincinnati game.
When you send someone
it's not
back,
Ackerman's fault that they can't do this. And then all of a sudden he gets punts blocked, and I got Chris Sanders texting me, and I love Chris with all my heart, but I got Chris Sanders texting me saying, well, that second punt block wasn't Ackerman's fault. It's like, dude, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen.
Jared, thanks so much for being with us this morning. I look forward to the Jared versus Teresa debate that I'm sure is coming very soon. Have a good weekend, my friend.
We're probably going to have to set that up. I appreciate you guys moving me back to 8 o'clock.
You're welcome.
And, Robbie, have a great week.
Yeah,
Thank you.
roll over. Roll over and close your eyes.
Thank you very much. We'll react to what Jared had to say there. A lot of your thoughts on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. He wished me a good weekend, not you.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
I don't know. That's not very nice.
More coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. Thanks to both Teresa Walker and Jared Stillman for being with us in the last 30 minutes here on the program. Some spiciness going on out there. Some spiciness on the text line as well. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Speaking of the phone number, be caller 4, which that's the number Nick Keyser has chosen this morning. Caller number 4 will be qualified to win a massive Preds prize pack that includes 2 tickets to the January 9th game coming up against the Ducks next week, Lexus Lounge access, 2 Preds packs, and a $50 credit to BetMGM. Caller number 4, 615-737-1025, will be qualified to win that Preds prize pack. Joe, your thoughts on what is now going to turn into Teresa Walker versus Jared Stillman, which I hope we get a debate style on the program.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Well, I think that, look, I think Jared needs to go ahead and I feel like Jared kind of has different rules for different people. And so he should not be afraid to go ahead and call out Teresa by name if he's got an issue. Call out. I mean, I asked him to name other names, and he shied away from that too. Why is he being so weak? Why not call out? Who else would he be talking about? Who are the old, you talking about Terry McCormick? You talking about John Glennon?
I don't know. Glennon's taking a lot of strays this week.
Glennon has been under siege on this show, and I feel bad about it. Coach Vrabel?
Have you noticed that Trey Avery is under constant duress out there?
Coach, Trey Avery, the Pro Football Focus potential says no. But, name the names, Jared. That's all I'm saying for Jared. Name the names. And I actually am interested to hear, because, Jared will, sometimes embellish or, lie. But I am interested to hear what Derek Mason and Chris Sanders actually said about the Hopkins
about haircut gate
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is an all-timer. You tell me. I mean, I was obviously being facetious when I talked about Jared doing an entire show on Vrabel losing the locker room. He's talked about the losing the locker room angle many times this fall.
I mean, I think so. I don't know that he's ever said it exactly in those terms, but yeah.
He has.
Okay. I mean, you listen to all 4 hours
Well,
every
that's
day.
true. When I can't listen live, I always go back at night. Dinner with the family. I just got Jared in the headphones, so I don't miss anything. But, I'm glad Teresa went after him. Most of the text line is overwhelmingly on Teresa's side on that one, and hopefully Jared learns from this.
Hopefully he does. Wes in Clarksville says Jared needs to be the Titans' next general manager. So there's that part of it, too.
Bradford says, if I had $1 trillion, I'd give Jared an NFL team, go to FanDuel, put a few billion on the under to how long it's going to take for him to turn his team into a dumpster fire. Are there odds on things like that?
I don't know.
Like David Tepper's next thrown drink? Yeah, I love this texter. Kudos, Jared, for not calling for Vrabel to be fired in his first year. Yay! First year, and he went 9-7.
He did not call for him to be fired.
You can confirm that?
I think so.
So you listen to him more than I do.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I think there was conversations of, so you fired the coach that took you to your only playoff win in the last decade, and this is what you get? Vrabel can't even make the playoffs in the first year? I think we saw some of that.
I will.
Well,
I will say.
I said some of that too.
Yeah. I mean, look, when they fired Malarkey, I threw a little tantrum in the Tennessean. I'll tell you that. Maybe I should try to find that column. I thought it was stupid, especially it was 5 days after Andy Mann's strong statement about how Mike Vrabel's going to be the coach moving forward. He's going to be the coach moving forward, as in a week.
Mike Malarkey, but yeah.
Who did I just say?
Vrabel.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Got a lot of mics. I was thinking about this yesterday in the last decade. Munchak, Vrabel, Malarkey. A lot of mics out there.
Yeah, no doubt. Anybody else?
They stopped it with a can.
Yeah.
That went well.
Next segment. How many mics have the Titans had?
615-737-1025. Coming up next, it is time for Pigskin Pick'em. We're getting down to crunch time in the competition, and it was a dreadful performance by me last weekend. Still within reach, though. Lots of interesting games coming up last week of the NFL, of the regular season, and, of course, the national title game. We'll get into all that. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week, time for Pigskin Pick'em here on Robby and Rexrode. Lots going on this weekend, the final week of the regular season in the National Football League. College Football National Championship coming up on Monday, so lots to get to on the program in Pigskin Pick'em here today. A standings update. A terrible week for me last week. 1-5. I won my first game. Started talking a mad amount of trash to Joe Rexrode via text message.
You did.
As Missouri took down Ohio State. And that was all I won. 1-5 with my lock last week, so at least I got the lock. Nick Keyser, 5-1, fresh off an 0-6 outing the week before.
Wow.
Responds with 5-1.
Hell yeah.
With no lock.
It's like Jared's takes, just flip-flopping all over the place.
What do you mean?
Rexrode 4-2, no lock. So the standings are as follows. Nick Keyser technically in first place, 57-51 overall, 5-13 on his locks, 62 points. Rexrode 56-52 overall, 6-12 on his locks, 62 points as well, but Keyser with the better overall record at the moment, so he's in first.
First place is first place.
And I'm 50-58, 8-10 on my locks, 58 points.
It's close.
It's close.
Everybody can still win this thing.
We'll see what happens. We begin with the Colts and the Texans coming up this weekend. A win and in game for the playoffs. Texans favored by 1.5. Nick Keyser, your pick in Colts versus Texans this weekend.
I like C.J. Stroud. I would love to see the rookie make the playoffs. I think he'll be motivated to make it, so give me the Houston Texans.
Going with the Texans minus 1.5. Joe Rexrode, Texans and Colts.
Yeah, I mean, prime time, that place can rock. Lucas Oil can rock. I mean, Minshew and Steichen, it's been impressive. But I'm going to go the same way. I think that the Texans, I think Stroud will find a way. I mean, ultimately, I'm going with the quarterback matchup. I'll take C.J. Stroud right now over Gardner Minshew, and I think the Texans prevail.
Minshew mania. The Colts get it done. They cover the spread, and they win the game outright. I'll take the Colts plus 1.5. Gardner Minshew and the Indianapolis Colts get in the playoffs. The Titans and the Jags coming up on Sunday at Nissan Stadium in what could be Derrick Henry's final game. Jared didn't want to talk about that, but could be Derrick Henry's final game.
Was he going to get emotional?
I think he might have.
Is that why?
I think that's why he deflected.
Okay.
Jaguars favored by 3.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe Rexrode, who you got between the Titans and the Jags?
What is that line again?
3.5.
Yeah, Titans getting 3.5. Give me the Titans. I'm not sure if they're going to win the game. I do think they're going to come with a very good effort, and I do think the emotion of Derrick Henry and even Ryan Tannehill, although it's possible Will Levis plays. But I think they're going to put their best foot forward, and the Jags have been playing not well, and Trevor Lawrence is not healthy, so give me the Titans, I say with hesitation.
I'm going Jags. I'll take the Jags minus 3.5. I just think too much is on the line for Jacksonville this week. And, look, obviously they're not as good as people thought they might be heading into the season. I still think there is a significant talent advantage they have over the Titans. So I'll go Jacksonville minus 3.5. Nick Keyser, Jags, favored by 3.5 coming up on Sunday at Nissan Stadium.
I tend to lean the same way. I think Trevor Lawrence is bound to bounce back. They had a phenomenal second half to their last season after a bye week. Not anywhere near the same, but I feel good about the Jags before the playoffs start. So I think I will take them over the Titans and perhaps Derrick Henry's last game.
They did shut out the Carolina Panthers last week, Joe, which is a big feat.
That is true. Help me in Pigskin Pick'em.
Yeah, it did.
Appreciate that.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Michigan and Washington coming up in the College Football National Championship game. Michigan favored by 4.5 points in this matchup. This one's tough. I've kind of gone back and forth on this, Joe, but I'm going to go with Michigan minus 4.5. I think it'll be a close game throughout, but I think at the end of the day, Michigan wins by about a touchdown in this one. So I'll go with the Wolverines minus 4.5. Nick Keyser, who you got in the national title game between Washington and Michigan?
I know that Kenny, our local part-time producer that I've not seen in a while, will love this pick. Give me Michigan and make it my lock.
Wow, lock it down.
I am very adamant that we will see the Wolverines pick up a national championship before Harbaugh ditches and goes over to the NFL.
And before it all gets vacated.
Well, that too.
Maybe that too.
Do you get a retroactive point for Washington if it gets vacated?
Yeah, maybe. I'm going Michigan too. I think that Penix is going to make plays and they're going to move the ball, but I don't see Washington stopping Michigan's running game. So I'm with you. I think it's about a touchdown, 10-point win or so, right around there for the Blue.
A lot of us have been underestimating Washington all year.
Yeah.
Another chance for them to
now,
prove strong again.
I did pick them against Texas, by the way.
You did?
But I definitely have been underestimated. They've had some real underwhelming wins. They find a way to keep every game close. I just think in this one they're going to be playing catch-up.
We move to the individual portion of the program. Nick Keyser, your first individual selection.
First one I've got is the Rams 3.5 over the Steelers this weekend. I don't think the Steelers will have it in them.
Wait a minute.
Wait.
They're not playing the Steelers.
Well, I went to FanDuel, and that's what they had. So that's a shame on them. So someone else go.
Those divisions will play each other in 2028.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will.
Who are the Steelers playing?
This is fantastic. Everybody plays the
Steelers are playing the Ravens, which also starts with an R.
Is that what you meant?
Oh, I'm sorry. The Ravens. That's probably what it was. A shame on me. Wow. I even have it. I just can't read my own handwriting.
Hey, man.
That's a shame.
You showed toughness and got up today, unlike Jared Stillman. So
I did.
We forgive you.
Look, okay.
All right,
sorry.
what's the line and what's your pick?
It is the Ravens 3.5. Robbie can probably fact check me on that.
The Steelers are favored by 3.5 points.
There you go. But give me the Ravens. Sorry. Continue. I'm awful.
No.
He's leading this competition.
No, you're not.
Joe Rexrode, your first individual selection.
I would use the word wonderful. Bears at Packers. I'm going to get right to it, Robbie.
Let's get to it.
Packers -3.
Yep.
Yeah, Packers making my lock. Like they're playing for everything, and I know the Bears would love to spoil it. And I'm sure that if Ryan from Chicago is listening, he's going to be so excited. Ryan and Michelle watching it, force Michelle to watch another Bears game. Yeah. But the Packers at home, with everything on the line, with the way Jordan Love is playing, I love them in this game.
I see what you did there. You love them.
I do.
This game. Yeah, I'm going Packers -3 as well. It's totally 100% with my heart. I'm not going to lock down on it, but I will take Packers -3. They win, they get in the playoffs, and make it in Jordan Love's first season. So I'll go Pack -3 against the Bears. Joe Rexrode, your second individual selection.
Cowboys at Commanders. Cowboys going for the not 1 seed, going for the 2 seed that the NFL has tried to hand deliver to the Cowboys. I'm going to go, and the Commanders are getting 13 at home. Give me the Commanders. I think the Cowboys will win, but I actually think the Commanders, it's a big rivalry, those Cowboys-Commanders games. I think they're going to put up a much better fight than anticipated. I feel like I've been picking this too often with the Commanders this year, and they've let me down, but I think in this one, with the Dallas Cowboys in town, they're actually going to step up and not get absolutely blown out.
It's actually 13.5 on FanDuel Sportsbook.
All right, give me that. I'll take it.
Commanders plus 13.5 against the Cowboys. Nick Keyser, your second individual selection.
I am going to go on the flip side of what Joe Rexrode is doing. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I don't like the Commanders' defense whatsoever after they moved off of Montez Sweat. So give me the Cowboys 13.5.
Yeah, Cowboys -13.5 against the Commanders. I will go the Detroit Lions -3 against the Vikings. The Vikings are terrible now with their quarterback situation. And Dan Campbell has been heated all week after what happened last week.
Trick plays coming.
They're going to take it out on Minnesota. I am locking down on the Detroit Lions -3 against the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, they just go for 2 every touchdown now. He's going for 2 from now on.
And he says, you know what? Let's take about 8 false starts in a row. We'll do our 2-point conversion from the 40, and we'll get on back there.
Exactly.
Be good stuff. Nick Keyser, your final individual selection.
All right, this is going to be a weird one to go out on, but I have some faith in him and perhaps his last game as well. The Patriots over the Jets this weekend. The Patriots are -1.5, so give me New England this weekend.
I believe the Patriots have beaten the Jets 16 consecutive times.
Is that right?
I believe so.
Belichick. Hey, sorry, Robbie Kraft. You only get the 7th pick.
Keyser going with the Patriots -1.5 against the New York Jets. Joe, your final individual selection.
So the game that I'm most excited about, Bills at Dolphins. The Dolphins are +3 at home, and they're banged up. But you know what? I think the Dolphins are going to step up. I really do. I think they're going to step up in this game. They got blown out by the Bills in Buffalo earlier this season.
I'm seeing 2.5.
Seeing 2.5?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I'll just take 2.5. That's fine. I mean, if it's a field goal game, a push, you lose anyway, so really no difference. Fine. Bills, Dolphins, plus 2.5. I'm going with the Fins.
Going with the Fins. That's good. I'm just laughing at the difference in lines that we have.
Yeah, well, I know I should be updated. I should update myself for this, but it's fine.
Last one for me, Bucks minus 4.5 against the Panthers. Tampa Bay, look, we know Carolina is terrible. Tampa Bay with an opportunity to close out the NFC South. I think they do that. I think they win by double digits, but I'll go minus 4.5 against the Carolina Panthers. We'll see if this is a rebound week for me in Pigskin Pick'em. It's been a rough go lately.
Yeah, I like that pick. I kind of regret not making that one. Dang it. Went to the stupid Commanders.
What was it a couple years ago? It was UConn. You found the UConn game every week in college and was like, I know the line's 50, but they're going to lose by 55.
Yeah, whatever.
And it traditionally worked.
It did. I had a real hell of a run with UConn. I miss it.
Callie Yarncroke and Preds Pick the Click.
Yeah.
UConn in Pigskin Pick'em.
YarnCon.
Our final
The long
thoughts
con
on the
with
Titans
YarnCon.
and the Jags. Also, the Predators and their weekend coming up. Big one for the Preds coming up tomorrow against the Dallas Stars in the aftermath of their loss to Calgary last night. We'll get into all that coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley here, the NFL regular season wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. We just gave you some picks in Pigskin Pick'em, but I feel really good about Tampa Bay minus 4.5 against Carolina to wrap up the division this weekend. That's the way I'd go, but you could take it any way you want to take it. Just do it on FanDuel. The app is so easy to use. There's so many different ways to bet. They've got live same-game parlay options, your traditional bets as well. All you have to do, visit FanDuel.com/Rob and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is not withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Make your silly underdog picks today for your chance to win weekly prizes. You can play at thegamenashville.com or the 1025 The Game app. Silly underdog picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Also, make sure you tune in this Monday at 6:30 as Washington and Michigan face off in the College Football Playoff National Championship game, only on 1025 1063 The Game, presented by Twin Peaks and Parman Tractor and Equipment.
Hey, real quick, the Lions have a new jersey. Seriously,
Do they?
on sale. It's a 68. In the back says eligible.
That's pretty awesome.
Yes. Well
Lean
done.
into it.
Well done.
I bet they'll make some money off that.
I may have to buy a Lions jersey now. First time since the 80s.
All coming back around.
Yep.
All coming around. By the way, a quick announcement, a programming announcement for our station. Teresa Walker will be joining the Stillman and Company program coming up today at 4 o'clock. So today at 4,
Nice.
Teresa will be joining Jared. That'll be fun.
It will be fun. I like it. Get after him, Teresa.
We've started something here on this program.
Yep.
615-737-1025. We have a clip to get to here in just a few minutes that will be fun to listen to. I'm interested to see Joe's response to it.
Okay.
We'll get to that here
I'm
in just a
looking
few
forward
seconds.
to it.
You know, your final thoughts on Jacksonville and the Titans coming up on Sunday, the season finale for the Two-Tone Blue.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame, right? It's the last game week, and I don't think that we've talked 1 second about the game. You know, the actual game, the actual matchup. But that's just where things are. I'm really
your thoughts on the Jag special teams units.
Yeah. Well, Tom Quinn yesterday was, Tom Quinn doesn't get asked nearly as many questions as Ackerman did. Let me tell you. Oh, real quick, by the way, Mike Reinfeld, Mike Keith. There's 2 more Mikes for the Titans.
A lot of mics.
Yes. But I'm really interested to see what the crowd will be like. I hope it's a great crowd. I do. I hope it's a great crowd because I think Derrick Henry deserves that, and I think Ryan Tannehill does too. And I don't know that Tannehill's playing for sure. That's my guess right now, but we'll see. But regardless, I think both those guys should be thanked. And, you can thank Tannehill knowing that he won't be here next year. Like, we need to just put away maybe bring back Tannehill as a backup thing. That's not happening. Now, Henry, I'm not totally closing the door on that, and it's going to be interesting. But it's just those guys, yes, more Derrick. Derrick's one of the greats. But Ryan Tannehill also, a lot of special moments for this franchise. So I'm interested to see what the crowd will be like. And, look, I think that the idea of knocking the Jags out of the playoffs got to be kind of appealing, certainly to people in that building, but I would think to Titans fans too, even if it costs you a couple draft spots.
Joe, speaking of Derek, we have the clip from Derek Mason on the NFL pregame show the other day.
There we go.
Discussing with Jared Stillman and Chris Sanders the DeAndre Hopkins haircut saga that took place at his locker room and whether or not that means Vrabel has lost the locker room. Here's what Derek Mason had to say on the NFL pregame show last Sunday.
Again, get your hair cut, but you choose to do it like you said, on the clock, so to speak, because you could have told Jim Wyatt or anybody else, whoever did that interview, you could have said, hey, listen, let's do it afterwards, or let's do it right quick before I get my hair cut. Let's do it right quick. Ask my questions on tape. Wait, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Let's do it. Then I get my hair cut. If you were still in the hunt for a playoff berth, this game really meant something going into the playoffs. I don't think you would have done that because you didn't do it in prior weeks when I know, you got your hair cut there.
Absolutely. That's it.
So why did you pick that time to do it?
That's it? That's what Jared is using it? What? First of all, the stupidity of Jared's take is the lost the locker room thing, okay?
Yeah.
That's the stupidity. Another thing, I've kind of thought that D-Man is a little bit of a D-Hop hater all year.
Really?
Don't you think so? A little bit. I think a little bit. Also, been in those locker rooms a lot. The dude's getting a haircut. You know how many times I've talked to dudes who are handling their own junk? Or naked? Or whatever?
Well, clip that up.
I mean, come on. Like, guys getting a haircut. In locker rooms, people are doing all kinds of stupid things. They're on their phone. I mean, Kaharski's out here.
Shielding Kuharski.
Yeah, they're trying to cover their junk with towels that Kaharski waits for them to drop to the floor so he can take video.
Just when I think you've said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
You get my point. Maybe I went a little far there, but you get my point. Like a guy getting a haircut to me, and this is how most of the people there took it, was like, oh, this is funny. And he's just sitting there. Why is your focus less because someone's cutting your hair?
I mean, no.
It's absolutely. I mean, again, D. Mace, I mean, he's been in the locker room, so if he has a problem with it, that's fine. I respect, the fact that was a great NFL player and he's been that. But from a media perspective, I need someone other than Jared Stillman to tell me that there's an issue with that. And
in terms of losing the locker room.
Well, but we're not even there. We're not even to the losing the locker room. Like, Vrabel has any idea what dudes are doing on their open media thing. He's in the office doing something. Like, Vrabel has some sort of just complete command over everyone in every moment of their lives. We can't even get to the stupidity of that. I'm just talking about the actual act of having a haircut while you're being interviewed. It is among the least offensive things that can be done while you're being interviewed.
When does Hopkins talk again? Did he talk yesterday? Is it coming today?
His talk day is usually Friday.
Getting a haircut?
So there you go.
Again today?
I hope so. Again, when people were doing this, Keith says, please don't ever say that again, Joe Junk Road. Thank you, Keith. I mean, all the people who are doing this who don't have, like, think of things the way Jared does, is I can't even follow half the time. We're just like, oh, this is funny. This is cool. I like it. Yeah, here's some video. He's getting a haircut. Who cares?
Hey.
And we haven't even gotten to why it means, even if you do care, even if you have a problem with it, then have a problem with Hopkins. The idea that this is some Vrabel lost the locker room thing is just amazing.
Walks in there. What's going on in here? Why are you getting a haircut? Stop, DeAndre. So you think like Vrabel pleaded with Hopkins, please don't get your haircut in here. And Hopkins was like, Mike, shut up and get in the other room in there. I'm getting the haircut here right now.
Guys, in this locker room, we're going to play with effort. We're going to play with intensity. We're going to be selfless. And by God, when you get interviewed, if you're getting a haircut, you are not going to be with this organization next year. Like, who would even think of this?
I don't know. You feel like D-Mace has been too hard on Hopkins? I mean, Hopkins got 68 catches, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns.
I've kind of
noticed. What's there to be hard on?
Well, I just kind of feel like this year a little bit. I've just heard a little bit of dismiss, a little bit of doubting, a little bit of, what's fine. I mean, early on, when they first talked about Hopkins, I was like, yeah, I'd be real wary of that.
Yeah.
The injuries, PED thing, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ken says, I hope D-Hop's shaving to his next interview. Again, dudes are picking their nose, picking their ears. Like, I mean, it's just every bodily function you could think of other than actually going to the bathroom on you happens to reporters when they interview dudes in a locker room. And we're going to worry about some guy sitting down and having a haircut.
This has been a graphic description.
This
of
has been a really
in the locker room.
Gross segment. I'm sorry, but you see everything happens in the locker room at some point. Like, you cannot avoid sometimes people just walking around naked.
Hey, Kuharski's in the room. Everybody watch out. Kuharski's in here.
Yeah, actually, if we could keep Kuharski in the locker, we'd probably have a lot less nakedness. Everyone just covering up with shawls while he walks through,
He's got his phone. His phone's out. Everybody, watch out.
We haven't given him enough crap. That should be a weekly give him crap segment, when he comes in here.
Joe, big one for the Preds tomorrow. It was ugly last night against Calgary. They looked bad. Andrew Burnett not happy after the game, and now a big game coming up against Dallas on the road. And you owe them one from earlier this year where you basically gift-wrapped them 2 points, but very interested to see the response tomorrow after just a clunker last night from the Preds.
It's a big one, and they really owe Dallas after that last one. This is a big response day for them.
Yeah, we're going to see what they're made of, how they look. Going to be an interesting weekend, last weekend of the regular season in the NFL. And, of course, we'll get into the national title game on Monday as well as that game takes place that night. That does it for us today. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Chasing Big Joe up next. This is 102.5, 106.3 The Game.